Trying again. Let's see. Give it a sec. Give it a sec. All right, I'm live on Twitch. Let's see if I'm live on YouTube.
Oh, you guys can hear Laith. Okay.
You can? Hell yeah! Wog
it's
one,
guys,
my
right?
G's. All right, cool.
I need
live
to
on
swap
YouTube
to
as well.
push to talk in Discord. What?
Don't do that. Don't be a coward. Don't be a coward. All right, cool. I'm live.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Before I say anything else, audio good? Any problems with that? Are we all fine? Ignore tuberculosis in the background. That's fine. Let me introduce what's going on here. Oh, it's Hawks. Hawks muted himself again. Anyway, OP, do you wanna say who you are? You hear the music?
Yeah, hello and welcome everybody. I'm One Proper Variant, and today we're going to talk about Europa Universalis 5, about everything and nothing. I said this today somewhere else as well. We can literally talk about everything, and obviously that's what we're gonna do. We have a lot of opinions, and I need to finish my introduction with this, okay? Because I'm gonna rile a lot of people up. When I have an opinion, you sadly have to come to terms with the fact that I think I'm objectively right. Okay, so if I stop holding that opinion, that means that I think I was not objectively right.
Don't care about your feelings.
Hello. Hello. All right. Well, let's begin. I'll introduce myself on my own channel as well. Hi, I'm Laith. I have opinions that are sometimes different to One Proper Variants, but he wears glasses and sounds smart, so I tend to defer to him and keep my personal opinions quiet. Hawk, do you want to introduce yourself? Who are you? He's deafened himself.
My name is Jiff.
Oh, okay, right, there you go. Always got that push to talk. Boys, let's just dive straight into it. We've got a Google Doc of Tinto Talks stuff going on. We have a list of topics we want to cover today. Everything from the UI to internal affairs, trade and production, war and expansion, country-based flavor, the situations, and the AI are the main things that we're going to be looking at. We're also going to be answering your questions at the same time. If they're good enough, if they're not, I frankly don't care. Let's begin. Bavarian, you have some thoughts on the UI, don't you?
Yeah, so the UI is actually really interesting to me, and
Yeah.
I was talking about it just yesterday. It's crazy to me. I think I should have just become a UX designer, because like I just see UX everywhere. I just look at that stuff and I'm like, this somebody that is a baby could not operate this machine. You can't have it like this. My opinion, like to really summarize it very simply, is I think the UI does a lot of really smart stuff. And I think we can all agree that the stuff that is like the search bars, the way that you can interact with menus, where you don't need to know where exactly it is in the menu, you just need to kind of search the word that you're looking for and then you get it. That's incredible. Like that's really, really good. But the first 10 to 15 hours, and I've said this to the developers, I don't know whether the audience understands.
Like you have to preface that.
It's serious. I have actually told the developers, and this is true, the first 10 to 15 hours of my experience, I've never cursed that much. I was cursing everything under the sun, okay? Because whenever you think that you understand a menu and you just click it and then you go there, you're actually wrong. Where you want to go is 15 menus somewhere else. And then there's a tooltip that has a tooltip that has a tooltip that leads you to a menu that is in a... This UI is really smart, but a lot of it will, I think, make people very angry, and babies could not play this game. I can tell you that. A baby could not do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the most intuitive. I will say, nested tooltips. I think they work well. I think that's a big win on their part. If you don't know what a nested tooltip is, it is literally this. If I were to hover over something, let's say this units thing where it's in blue, then an explanation of what that is will show up. And let's say there's something on there that I want to see, then an explanation of that will show up. That's pretty good.
It's really great.
Yeah, I like that, but. There's a big debate that's going on, right? I argued with Generalist about this, and by argued with Generalist, I mean I said what I thought, he said I was wrong, and then I instantly backed down, but I still held the opinion. Like up here, right? Like in the top left, you have the country portrait and the flag. I don't think you need the guy's face there, right? It's like, and I'll explain why I'm hyper focusing on this, right? Oh god, I already see so many crybabies arguing about the UI. You clicked on a thing where I said we were going to talk about it. I think there's a lot of like what they've tried to do is put as much at a glance as possible, and I think that in doing so, it means that things kind of get cluttered and my eyes aren't drawn to the right place. Hawk, you there?
Right. I keep forgetting to push to talk. So, it's the first thing I'm gonna do you got me riled up with this UI talk from the start, right? The first thing I'm gonna do, once EU5 is officially out, not just for us, chat, not just for the creators, once people start making them mods, I will pay someone $7 Brazilian to make a mod that gets rid of the ruler portrait and that stops tilting in the 3D map. Now, OPB, I'm sure you've played in Italy because you look like a guy that's an Italy enjoyer. How hard is it to click in a province in the Alps when you're looking at southern Italy? You can't. You kind of want to send your mouse over the mountain to click inside.
That's actually a different issue, though. Like, you're completely right. And I don't know, like, the entire HRE, it's horrendous to click anything in the HRE. I hate it all. But what you're saying with the Alps in particular, I hate every mountainous region in this goddamn game. Because what they did...
Boys, we're going so strong.
Agree. Listen, let's get the negative stuff out of the way, chat.
Yeah, no, there's a lot. I will say there's a lot positive here. It is. But, I mean, we're
I want to stress. I want to stress, okay?
And I also saw that $5 donation with your commentary. I will get to that in a second. Don't worry. Carry on. Sorry.
I want to stress, okay? I wouldn't be playing this game non-stop every day, and I wouldn't have amassed an incredible amount of hours in no time whatsoever if I didn't have a good time with the game. That needs to be stressed. Before you run into the forums and you go, they're beefing. It's crazy. Stuff is breaking down. Don't do that. Chill. Relax, okay? But when I look at the new CK3 map, and we don't actually, I didn't think of putting that in here, but they did a dev diary where they showed like a whole bunch of locations, mountains, and so on. I can clearly see that they really stylized that map. They care about stylizing that map, right? With the EU5 map, I don't know whether I don't know whether you guys ever have done this, but there are CK3 mods where somebody takes a GPS-derived map and just throws it into CK3, and then you have these wobbly hills everywhere. Because that's what GPS looks like. There's hills.
Yeah.
Normally on these maps, you normalize it, okay? So that like you don't see like random stuff. The mountains are insane in this game. Yeah. The mountains are like what Valheim generates once you get into the...
It's like, I don't know if you guys have ever done this. If you're real EU4 enjoyers, you will have. Laith, this is for you, of course, OPB. I know you're not a real EU4 enjoyer. Laith, have you ever zoomed into India all the way, like middle of India where it's flat, and then just drag the mouse until you're in the Himalayas?
Yeah,
that's classic. No, that's how it feels like when specifically about the mountains and EU5.
Or if you use like a game controller, you know?
Yeah.
Can I ask you? Can I just preface something real quick, Hawk? I'm just looking right now at the Low Countries map, right? They're literally the Tintertalks Low Countries map, right?
I'm trying to get your gameplay. I still can't get it.
You can't get it? Well, let me fix that. We can wait a sec. I was gonna say I'll let me ping it to you real quick, and then
just send it over here. I'll try to link it up just so everyone on the
what I want to ask is, do you like this style? Right? One sec. Let me.
Okay, yeah. As soon as I see it, I'll tell you if I like it.
Yeah. One sec. I've just got to. I won't lie, guys. I have fully hijacked Parabellum's.
We're using all the Parabellum stuff, chat.
So shout out Vidge. Right, let me connect up my gameplay side of things.
Big up Midge.
He's that guy.
He is that guy.
No Tintertalks. All right, can you see that?
Right, did you share something with?
Well, no, I'm saying like it's in the browser source.
Yes, now I can see it. Yes.
So you see what I'm looking at here.
Yeah.
Let me show chat.
So which part are you asking me if I like?
Like, because you're a big flat map enjoyer.
I'm a very big flat map enjoyer. So once we originally got, let me
just say this. You see this angle, literally like this. That's what you like. You don't.
Yeah, I like top down. So here's the thing. When we originally got it for the first time back in May, chat, I played exclusively like this. And then now when we got it, like, what was it, a couple of weeks ago, maybe it's been a month or something like that, I was like, okay, I'm going to give the 3D map a shot again. And I was playing various countries, like some I mentioned in the video I did. I played Serbia, Hungary, Ottomans, Castile, blah, blah, blah. And really, not a lot of these countries come in contact with mountains. But then I played Milan. And I tried to fight guys in the Alps. And I wanted to play, that game where you guess the numbers. You know, it's 1 through 9, and you gotta, you know. So I was like, I can't do this. I'm going back to flat map. You know, I'm going back to flat map, and ever since then, I've been back to flat map.
This is where we disagree, because I think it's fine. I will also say I like there is a degree of customization. Again, you are a flat map enjoyer, and you can do that. I am halfway, and some people, some unhinged individuals. OPB, I can see you rubbing your face here. You're not a flat map enjoyer.
I'm not even a political map mod enjoyer. Okay?
Which is insane to me. Which is insane to me.
He plays in terrain.
You forget the borders of your country. Like, what happened? Where are you coming from? It's, you know, I think I think the map, even the terrain map, has some really nice sites. I think it's not ugly everywhere. I just think the mountains, they agitate me, okay, to say it this way, because it's just, I was playing the Ottomans, and I talked about that playthrough on the channel as well.
People start freaking out in chat the second you start saying that. That's crazy.
One person says, this is one sick expletive.
That's one, yeah, it's true. I mean, you know, I'm just used to looking at Victoria 3's map and going, wow.
But is it not telling that they
90% of why I don't play Vicky 3?
For the screenshots, it feels to me like they've used the flat. But I could be wrong. But it looks like they've used the flat map.
They are intentionally hiding the 3D one, right? They are intentionally not showing. Yeah. I mean, they've said it.
Okay.
Like we're intentionally.
It's the last thing you finish, right? Like,
no, OPB, I'm gonna go back to what you said. How do you forget the borders of your country when you have such a tenure in EU4, like me and my half Tunisian colleague right here? When you play literally the most obscure countries that no one's ever heard of, in regions that no one's ever played, and sure, in EU4 it's easier because, you know, provinces are probably the biggest out of any game right now, current game. You're right, you can't forget. But in something that's so granular, like CK or Imperator or Victoria or EU5, and especially in the start dates that I'm not familiar with, dude, I'm playing freaking Biz and I forget what my borders are, right?
Yeah. So, I just want to quickly address something Michael said in chat with regards. I think I want to talk about this now, right from the start, because again, we're getting like the meat of the things early. Working on DLC before the game comes out and the DLC side of things, I think people are relating EU5 DLCs to the same as EU4 DLCs, right? They are completely wrong. They are completely different. I'll say the deal, like, we know what the business model of Paradox is, right? We know this already.
I wish there were EU4 type DLCs.
So when it comes to the DLCs that are coming out, they are more focused around situations and flavor versus building entire new mechanics. With EU4 DLCs, the development system, that was a DLC. You know, you had to have DLCs to get mechanics. I would say, again, OPB, you probably know more about this kind of thing with regards to being on the Victoria 3 side of things. Would you say it's more akin to Victoria 3, like in that side of things, where it's less mechanics and more flavor?
It's so that has actually been the policy of all studios. CK3 has done it a lot as well. The last year was very heavy, where like, listen, if you want to play this government, that's DLC. So the mechanics were actually locked in the DLC, right? But by and large, all games are saying we want to have the mechanics, the systems in the free update. I've talked to some developers there as well. The idea really just is, it's so much easier to then internally pitch, hey, I want to build up on this system that exists there and that isn't locked behind the DLC. But I want to like stress one thing, because I actually miss that discourse, because it's like, honestly, like the DLC stuff. Okay, hear me out here. There is a point in video game development where you tell yourself, this is until we have to develop this game. At some point, you will have a meeting, a potential crisis meeting, where you go, we have to move that date. Like, we didn't make it. But if you hit that date, what else are they supposed to be working on? They have deadlines. The idea kind of is that you do project planning, you go into this and you're saying, hey, this is just the way it works. Everything that we can fit in there, everything that we want to do goes in there. But whether they start working now on DLCs or the moment the game releases, it's not really that different, because the idea of these games is more content will come. That is the promise that you can't really get out of the way. So I don't know, like, it doesn't seem to be like that big of a deal to me, at least from where I'm standing.
You can see why we brought OPB.
We needed a smart guy, chat. We needed a smart guy, because me and Laith were just mauled and But I'm gonna go back to the DLCs thing a bit, because you said it's not gonna be like EU4 DLCs, and I said I wish
don't know that,
it was
to be
like
clear.
EU4
I am assuming. I don't like. It's not like we haven't been like, they didn't pick up the phone and be like, "Yo, what's up?" like
Yeah,
given what's been publicly released, that's my assumption. I could be wrong.
Like, for sure.
See,
Like
I
Laith
actually
said,
don't know
it's not
anything.
gonna be, introducing mechanics in DLCs. But what I meant when I said I wish it was like EU4 DLCs is because I really dislike, honestly, the model that CK3 and Victoria have of like, especially CK3, man. Come on, how many years it's been out? For me, it hasn't had enough DLCs. You know, I was hoping for the EU4 model of a major one early and a minor one late. I agree that there shouldn't be mechanics introduced in DLCs. It should all be free, and DLCs should only be flavor. But, like EU4 was before COVID, man. A major one at the start of the year, huge changes, and then a minor one, this niche region here and there.
I think you're too EU4 coded.
I'm very EU4.
And you know what? I want to.
I will admit that.
I will, unless either of you like have. We'll loop back because UI builds into everything. I want to go to internal affairs, right, within the nation, because one thing I've realized is that I am EU4 coded. When it comes to being EU4 coded, what I mean by that is, in fact, I'll give an example of international organizations, right? International organizations are a mechanic in the game that represent things like the Catholic Church, but also things like the Ilkhanate Horde, right? Yeah. It is a system. The problem is my brain goes... Yeah, my brain goes into international organization. Like, those things aren't the same. How does that work? And I've had to kind of like...
What's that in EU4?
Exactly, you know what I mean? Like, I have to disavow myself of that notion before I go, no, an international organization is set up. Like, it is an understanding for this thing. And that's why there can be a Catholic Church one and an Ilkhanic one. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, how do you feel about international organizations, OBB?
I think international organizations and situations as well, but I guess let's stick with IOs. So there are some, because there are various in the game, obviously, and there's some where I would personally say I think that they're not yet there, where I'm like, this is in the state that I personally like. The way gameplay feels. Mm-hmm. But the system of international organizations, I need Vicky to steal that. I need CK3. Any game that I've played, I mean, to a degree, Stellaris obviously has it. With the way that federations and that kind of stuff work, but I really, really like the base implementation of just saying we have this mechanic that you can put over anything. You declare special rules, and then the way it goes. Yeah, I really like. Huge fan of this. I don't know. I guess you're like looking at this and you're kind of going like in EU4. You look at like the papacy stuff.
That's what I mean.
The only thing that can really compare in EU4 is kind of the HRE and the Mandate of Heaven. Like those and the papacy, the three little mechanics that you see on the bottom right. Like, that's really the only thing that you can relate to EU4. But I personally am a huge fan of international organizations. I love the way this whole thing works, and you kind of have like international organizations kind of in situations as well. For example, you got the Guelphs and the Ghibelline situation in Italy, which I'm very excited to talk about once we get to that later. But that's a situation, and you're also in one of the two international organizations which are a part of that situation. And I think it's a great way to represent personal unions. The more I learn about them, the more I like them. I like them a lot since the start, but PUs are international organizations. It adds
a lot more like... The problem is there's a lot more opportunity for problems that arise. Can you create international organizations? Yeah, an international organization can, like Hawk's saying, be just as simple as I now have a personal union, because it's not like EU4 where you suddenly have a junior partner and a senior partner, and like that's just like a vassal situation.
It's hard to become a senior partner.
Yeah, it takes time. There's a whole host of interactions. I think it can make things a lot more nuanced. I want to
clarify that, at least, that so just to be really, really clear, that you can't make like from the bottom completely, you decide everything about an international organization. It supports content and mechanics and what's on. Yeah,
it can happen to you. Is the thing. It can happen. Situations can happen. Yeah, I'm a big fan, man, and especially with the ones that I've played more into. Like, for example, Catholicism is good because countries to compare once again to EU4, for example, for Catholicism here, someone is the Curia controller and they pass a papal bull. And then you get the papal points and you spend them on that. In EU5, it's different. For example, someone suggests a papal bull. in EU5, and everyone votes for it if you want to pass it and whatnot. Usually all of them are positive,
Yeah.
so you will want them to vote to pass it. And then on the other hand, in Orthodoxy, you have the patriarchates, which obviously, you know, the biggest one starts with biz and blah, blah, blah. You can create your own and everyone joins it as Serbia. And then when you're the leader of the patriarchate, it's kind of similar-ish to the Catholic one, but not really, because you do more stuff yourself and the religious influence matters. So I like the religion aspect of the two big Christian religions, international organization styles. I like the
Well, it
views
does.
a
It
lot
does
as
feel
well.
like, again, not to say thing, more of an organization versus a system that nations are interacting with. Like you do see sort of the things flow out from there. All right. So to get back onto I mean, well, again, we can jump around as much as we want, chaps. But let's go for some internal affairs, and by that I mean your country, like how it works internally. How do you guys feel about cabinet actions? So,
Too micro-y for me.
Why'd you start with the worst part? Like one of the worst parts?
Because I want to. The reason I want to start with like the things that I know you don't like is for two reasons. Firstly, I want there to be clips and people put it together and go, Bavarian hates EU5. Let's get him blacklisted, because then I don't.
Post
have
us
to
on the
make sure.
EU5 subreddit chat.
There you
Post
go.
us. You won't believe what Hawk, Laith, and OPP said about EU5.
The reason I say
will
cabinet
shock
actions
you.
is because it is like it is the easiest thing to understand. It's the first thing you're gonna be prompted to look at, in my opinion. And it is central to what you're doing. I've been flip-flopping on this, which is interesting. So yeah, go for it, Mr.
Really?
Bavaria.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I'll start. I'm really interested in your flip-flopping. But
Yes.
so cabinet actions from where I am standing, I think, are a fine system. They aren't really that new in any context, because like if you look at Victoria 2, they had national focuses. I think it was added with the DLC, but you know, you had a mechanic where you say I want to focus on a particular thing in a particular region. They unlock some of them only with technology, so you have a type of progression there as well. Where it really comes in for me, and one is design-wise, and one is just UX. The constant reassigning that you need to do of the missions themselves, right? So if you sit down and you're the Ottomans, and it's like, I need to integrate 1 trillion pieces of land because I'm conquering. That's all I'm doing, right? If you're doing that, it's going to be so micro-heavy. I did so many cabinet actions there. The thing that is like design-wise really, it sucks kind of, okay? So the fact that you have cabinet members is cool from the design context, that they are assigned to an estate, which means you're giving power to the estate, and there's something going on there where you're looking at this and you're like, oh yeah, okay, cool. So what's happening here is a person is involved in this, right? My estate is actually in control. In 80% of cases in the game, you will not care who's actually in your estate. I passed a law where you can only have non-nobles. I didn't have anybody. I was sitting there, I was like, well, okay, I guess I have no cabinet anymore. The reality of it kind of is, you can optimize, you can replace admirals and generals automatically, right? And they also give power to the estate. You do it because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The design wants you to care about it, but you will not care about it, because where you do changes to the estate are in buildings, and it's really deep there. You know, like who's rich, who are you taxing more, where's the power coming from? That's really, really cool. In the cabinet, it's just busy work. It's just busy work the entire time. In all cases, except in the disaster country and court, where you have absolutism versus decentralization, in all cases, I will go and just go, give me the guy with the highest skill, put him in,
Easy.
get him on the field, let's get it done.
Get him on the field.
Yeah. Something else about the cabinet, man, is obviously it's probably literally the most important mechanic in EU5, in my opinion. And you will be messing around with it a lot manually once you get into the game. And you know, for my first 700 hours of playing EU5, I was, you know, just going in. Okay, now we pause this month. Okay, this guy, he was, you know, doing a recovery effort. Okay, now I'm gonna shift him to culture convert there because I need to core that up. Okay, but now the Reformation just spawned. Okay, but now he's scoring and now he's doing this. After a little bit, I just realized, unless you're culture converting specifically to core instead of accepting, or religion converting, you can just set them to automate, man.
Yeah, well, do you want to quickly
and they'll flip around.
Elaborate, because I think a lot of people have misconceptions about how coring works. Because let's imagine someone doesn't know. Let's not just discuss mechanics as if people have been following every.
Let me break down coring for you, chat. Obviously, a lot of you guys will be coming in from EU5, right? From EU4. You conquer a province in EU4. You spend admin points to, you know, half core it, and then you can state it up and spend, the same amount of admin points to full state it. So you can bring it down to 0 autonomy, right? But even if you don't full state it, it's still your core, right? If someone conquers it, you can do a reconquest on your cores and stuff like that. In EU5, it's quite different because you don't actually core provinces manually. You don't spend any type of abstract points or whatever to fully integrate that province within your society. And this is actually a pretty recent change in the latest update that we have. So once you conquer a province, you use a cabinet member and you use the cabinet action integrate province. In the early portion of the game, I would say first half, maybe more than half, you can only integrate one province at a time. And for most countries, it is pretty slow. Obviously, there's a lot of factors that play into here, but it is relatively slow. Later, you can integrate areas and stuff like that. And once a province is integrated, yes, it is part of your country, but it's not necessarily your core.
So you gotta decouple this idea from EU4. I want to address something someone said in chat. Something about it being a surface level, it doesn't interact with other systems. The strength, and we'll really get to it when we start talking about the economy and trade and that sort of thing. One of the biggest strengths of EU5, if you like this kind of thing, is that there are a lot of interlaying systems that interact with other systems. So we'll get to that later, but like that is a big strength of this. They have, in my opinion, successfully created something where there are a lot of moving parts integrating with other moving parts. Sometimes that creates its own problems, but if you're thinking, oh, that's a thing that I'm gonna have to deal with versus that's a thing, I feel like, again, EU4, I core something. That is the extent of it. I spend the mana and that's it.
You don't think about it anymore, yeah.
But with coring, as with everything else in EU5, it links to another thing, it's caused by another thing, and you go through.
Imagine it like this, chat. Imagine you conquer a province in EU4 and in EU5. In EU4, you spend admin points, and it's your core. In EU5, once you integrate it, it's integrated, but it's not your core.
Yeah.
For it to become your core, and it will become your core automatically once you integrate it, is if you have that culture accepted, or if you convert it to your own culture, and if it's majority, right?
Majority of your culture,
majority, primary religion. And of course, culture, majority. So it has to really, because
you don't necessarily need everything to be cored either. That's something that's important to know.
A lot of things in EU5 you can compare to real life, right? In EU4, you do a world conquest, everything can be your core. But how is the entire world the core of your country, right? Think of it like, I don't know, England. What's the core of England? It's London. London's like, and it stems out from England, right? So as long as it's your majority, your culture, majority, your religion, it will become your core. Let's move on
from that, to that stemming out side of things that you're talking about. And Obi, I'll throw this to you when it comes to the control system, because that is a system that I personally really like. The way it's implemented. I'll be intrigued to see if you disagree with me. Because you just don't like things and people. Like I just a hateful guy.
I love having fun. That's the thing. That's the thing about it. I love having fun. Can you do me a favor? Could you do a poll asking who in chat plays EU4 and likes EU4 and who doesn't? Because I think those are two very different demographics.
Why?
Specifically for me, where I'm coming from, I really like EU5 being as systemic and as involved and as we want to go and kind of have you think about things in a way that historically were being considered, right? How deep that goes, I mean, that it differs. It depends specifically on what mechanic we're talking about. But I really like this, and I wonder whether EU4 people feel differently about this. But to talk about,
so I'm setting up a poll for do you like EU4? Because again, I think this is a brazen EU4
one in the chat if you like EU4, 2 in the chat if you don't.
It's like a 90% yes, by the way, on my side.
Yeah, obviously.
Like, come on, bro. Who do you think you're hanging with? I'm bring this Victoria 3 guy who's like, oh, I don't like the arcadey thing. Like, look.
So okay, hear me out on control. I think that control is a really cool system. I think it could be expanded on. Like there are some alleys where I'm like, shouldn't this interact with it? Yada yada yada. But in itself, the way that it is right now, the way that I've played with it, this is a really cool mechanic. I remember very early on into the Tinto talks before I basically stopped following because I was like, I just want to see where it goes and then I'll play it and then that's it. I was like, I'm kind of concerned. What do you do with stuff that is getting cut off? Can I sabotage the AI this way? Can I do something that just breaks it completely? And the answer is no, because they were like, oh, you know what? I got an answer for this. Like, you get particular buildings, you get just the vassal gameplay in general, right? Where you hand it over and you say a local fella that has the right culture, the right religion is going to have a way easier time administering this. They're going to pay me taxes. The way it functions and the way that it drives blobbing from the player side, like what you consider land worth taking is really, really cool.
Yes.
I think it is a great system. Really, really awesome. There you go.
Oh.
You know?
I thought there was going to be a but there. I thought it was coming in being like,
No, huge
but-
fan. Sorry.
No, the control system's great. For those of you who don't understand what control is, it radiates out from your capital. It's affected by a lot of different things. One thing I love is it's directly affected by geography. The mountains that Hawk hates so much, for example, it's going to be a very tricky thing to project control on the other side, right? Which is obviously very, very important, which means things like rivers are very important. You'll see control flow down rivers. So if I want to... well, why would I even want control? Think of it from a sliding scale from 0 to 100. Pretty much everything in EU5 is a sliding scale. It's barely ever binary.
Yeah.
So imagine 0 control means I get no benefit from this thing at all.
A lot of EU5 systems are really easy to understand when you compare them to real life. Right?
That's what I like about it. Like you can apply
there's zero
real life
control
logic
in
to
the province. Okay, we don't control anything.
There you go.
It's
the
simple.
only thing a 0 control province gives you is really kind of problems. And so
it literally just makes your name and
it happens with time and everything else. But let's say I'm over here in Stockholm and I want to project control over here and it's build roads. I might, or I want to project control over here. I'm going to try and increase my maritime presence. We're going to change. We're going to get to that later. But that's why having a strong navy is important, so that you can control overseas territories. It's easier for me to control a land on the coastline here than it is inland Sweden over here for very obvious reasons. The control system is quite nice. It also incentivizes things like vassal-based gameplay, which is why, again, in the sort of 14th century, particularly where the game starts in 1337. You'll have vassals and a reason for them to exist. In EU4, they are. Oh, I'm at my gov cap. I don't want to start going beyond that. Cool. Let me chuck it out to the vassal. Whereas in EU5, it's I can't properly project into that area. I need to localize. I need to decentralize power to that sort of location. So that is really, 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 really cool. I think that's a great strength of the game, and I'm pretty happy with it.
I'll continue with this a little bit. Why it's you feel so powerful as a country that isn't on first glance very big, because I'll actually compare it to my Milan game that I played. I played quite a bit as them, 200 and something years. I owned pretty much most of northern Italy, so I was expanding super slowly, right? I didn't even have like all of Tuscany and anything like that. But because I focused so much on like playing tall and stuff like that and building up control everywhere and integrating slowly, accepting every culture, even the religions and stuff like that before it spawned, I had super high control everywhere, so I was maximizing every single little bit that we could get from any location, right? Like the lowest control, even far away, behind the mountains and in Venice and whatnot, was like 80 something, right? So at that point, you're like the number 5 great power, where you're really only as big as, well, if you zoom in on this Italy map,
Are you showing your POV?
No. I'm on your POV,
okay.
yeah. But you're looking at
yeah.
it. It's pretty much, it's like northern Italy with half of Tuscany, man. It's That's how much it is. And you're the number 5 great power like that. Freaking 50k army, making hundreds of ducats a month, and it's all because you're maximizing every single bit and, accepting all these cultures and whatnot. So
there was a really cool thing. Yeah, go for it.
No, I'm gonna launch into a long speech. Okay.
I was just gonna say that there was a recent thing in the I can't remember where it was released. I think it was in the forums where they showed off like a Timur, like Rise of Timur thing, and they'd conquered China. And then they showed the control map of it, and it showed zero control everywhere. And you're looking at that, like, if you've played EU5, like, you conquered just, like,
nothing.
This is, like, again, Hawk's little, like, tiny little, like, nation would destroy that massive empire
easy.
Because he's making full use of it.
Easily
it's
roll
pretty cool.
off China. Yeah, someone in the chat says, so is control basically just reversed autonomy, but with a cap depending on distance from capital? Yes, but, as the game goes on, you can reduce that reliance on the closest near capital, with buildings and stuff like that, with maritime control, with rivers, with
It's just
terrain,
that proximity to capital modifier.
Proximity to capital is the most important in the early game. But yeah, reversed autonomy stemming out from the capital.
OPB, could you go into your long tirade now?
Yeah,
Is there anything you want me to show off whilst you're saying it?
There's one way. Can you flex while I talk, and then we act like it's me talking down there. But so basically, I think there's one thing that is really interesting to consider, and that will kind of make it a lot clearer the way that we, the three of us, and I think most people that played EU5 will feel about it. Because it's so like when I see this and it's kind of like, oh, so you hate this or you hate, it's like it's not that simple.
No.
That's really everything that it comes down to for EU5. But there's one thing in particular, right? When you look at EU4, and I have played it recently, I've played EU3 recently as well. It was just like revisiting that type of stuff. It's board gamey. This is not me being rude, it's just, it's organized as a board game. The phases of the game are also organized as a board game. You're saying this is the Reformation, then we have absolutism, there are different challenges coming for you. If you have played the literal EU board game, then that's what it is. They broke it down into these exact steps in the board game as well. And EU4 is really, really good at that. If you are worried about EU5, I think, when it comes to, is it too simulation heavy? How's this going to go? It is very simulation heavy, sure, but it uses all of the skeleton of what they have learned and what they know about designing a good board game. They still have the very same kind of, this is the pacing, this is where you're expected to be, what you're expected to do. Control works exactly in this direction. They took the mechanic of autonomy, they took a mechanic that is like, okay, so we need to balance the board game blobbing that you can do, and then they asked, how can we frame this through a historical lens, instead of just, hey, it's autonomy. The entire game has the bones of an EU4 style board game, but then on top of that, you have these massive layers that complexify it. And I think that is the best way of describing it. I hate certain mechanics. I engage with them and I'm like, this, I'm having a bad time with them, not working right, whatever. But the base idea, and this is why it's kind of like they can balance stuff, they can figure that out. I do trust that eventually they're going to do it, although it is a mammoth-sized project, but it's kind of like, because it's a board game DNA. I can balance around the Reformation because we know the Reformation will happen because we kept the EU4 Reformation thing. I know how to balance Control because we organized Control as the classic blob stopper that we have in EU4 already. So like the entire thought about it, whether you're worried about is it too realistic, is it not realistic enough, honestly, it really strikes a nice balance between the both of them, where they kept everything that worked about it being a board game and then said, and now let's put some stuff over it where you organically and intuitively can go, this makes sense to put it. So I don't, for me, it's kind of like the fascination that I have with this game's mechanics is that it nails both of them, or it goes very strongly into both directions rather than just one of the.
Well, I'll go one step further there. If we shift over to trade and production, right? That sort of idea. I'll invite you now to talk about something that you were very excited to tell me about, slavery. And do you want to quickly? I mean, you had a fantastic short come out about that. So if you don't mind, just quickly explaining when it comes to gamifying historical, like it's sort of a historical path. What the mindset is there.
When you look at history, okay. Okay.
All right, get ready to clip it, chat.
Here we go. We're talking about the Columbian Exchange. I've got it up right here.
I love the triangle trade.
So, EU5 is really good at slavery. Okay. What I mean here is, so I was playing the game and I
chat, but
yeah,
it's one of those things. So, and it's so fascinating. Oh my God. Okay. So this is now one of those. I could talk about this for ages because think about it this way. You don't even need to take, so let's say you have colonies in the New World and you're like, wow, this is great, but I don't have enough people here. I talked about this in a video as well, right? And it's in that playthrough at the time, Christians could still import Christian slaves, which was illegal by decree of the Pope because they're Christians.
I don't know why even that was a possibility, honly. I think
it was really funny. I had so many Greek slaves.
or just
no, it wasn't oversight. They fixed it. They fixed it. They changed it. Yeah. when Johan saw the Greek slaves working on Haiti, he was like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
Someone will mob that.
I would get some like mental DMs from OV when he was figuring out the system and how it worked because he was playing as England. He had a colony or a colonial presence in West Africa where he had a bunch of slave centers, and then he had over in the Caribbean these sort of like cash crops, right, that he would grow.
No.
And he wasn't able to get the individuals there. So he was like, Laith, look, I've got some Orthodox Greek slaves that are working on the plantations. Essentially, what he was saying to me was that he is incentivized to actually do the Columbian Exchange, right? Not through a way of being like, hey, tick this thing. And again, it's a weakness of Victoria 3, for example, in the journal entries, whether you like them or not, right? Get this tick thing done, or missions in EU4, which I do personally like, but you get it done because you get the reward. Whereas in EU5, he was doing the Columbian Exchange, getting people, moving them to a location to work, and then getting the benefit from it, and getting that little trade going by organizing his markets.
The triangle trade.
The triangle trade, which is something that happens. Go for it.
It's even cooler. So there's one thing where it's like I've never seen a different game do this, because EU5 is so insistent on saying sometimes you can build buildings not in your territory.
Yes.
Under certain conditions, sometimes it's friendly, sometimes it's not. I had, in this case, I was like, I need slaves, I need workforce. So what am I going to do? I hopped on over, took some land, coastal land in Sokoto, so modern day Nigeria. They had become coastal at the time, and I took that land and I built a ton of trade centers, and then I built these slave centers all adjacent along the coastline of non-settled territory. So there's people there, right? The societies of pops, but there's no tags there. So I didn't even have to take and control and then have like revolts. If you look in history on the possessions that colonial powers had in Africa at the time, it wasn't a big kind of scheme. You obviously had malaria, there wasn't that much of an economic benefit there compared to the New World. They had small outposts from which this was facilitated. The way it is implemented is just so exciting, because they really were like, okay, let's open a goddamn history book and just see what they did. I don't know. Let's figure this out.
Let's learn.
I thought this was actually like it's such a good showcase of how they're doing it. In the end, if you really think about it, this is like a board game, right? I set up my own market. I transferred something over there, transferred something from the New World home, and I was like, I'm rich now. It's basically like a board game routine there, but you do it in the context of history. Oh my god, it's so nice.
And that's OPB's opinion on slavery.
There you go. Now, to go back to EU5, real quick.
Enough about real life.
But I think so. Looking at trade, Hawk, if you have any sort of thoughts on that, when it comes to trade in general, right? How do you feel about it? Like, let's not look at any like niche individual scenarios or examples, because I just wanted to. I had to introduce it with OPB there. But trade as a whole, what are your thoughts on it? How do you feel about it?
As soon as I saw it, and this was before even we got to play it or anything like that, just reading and listen, I was elected to play the game, not to read, okay? So I didn't even read the dev diary, I just looked at the pretty pictures, saw no arrows between the markets, and I was like, this sucks.
I'm confused.
But then, once I actually played the game, and once you realize that, okay, there aren't really markets in real life or anything like that. I mean, sure, any city, any town, any store is a market, right? But once you realize that it's actually, okay, so I'm in this market, I make chairs, and I sell them to that market. At the end of the day, that's really what it is, right? And it goes back to people overcomplicating EU4 trade as well.
Yes.
I can't figure out how trade in EU4 works. Okay, get your merchants and put them in different nodes and see in which way you make the most money.
You don't need to, like, the thing is, with EU4, right? EU5, everything, right? I need to make this very clear. You do not need to understand every single tiny little number mechanic, how it all works to enjoy the game and to advance your nation. Like, I feel like sometimes that people get into this idea that with a grand strategy game, you have to know every little thing to enjoy it. You do not have to do it.
Not everyone has to be an ultra nerd.
I have like 4,000 odd plus numbers hours in EU4. I will still be like, I don't know everything in the game. And I
still don't know what caravan power is.
Who cares? You don't need to know every little thing. Obviously, if you want to, by all means, go on. I mean, someone like Generous, for example, will dive into the mechanics and is very, very good at what he does. But don't think, like, in order to play EU5, I have to do all of this. These are the markets he's talking about, by the way. These are very dynamic, which I think is very cool. You can see down here with Bordeaux, you can see that some of these guys are in Paris, some of them are in Bordeaux. You can create markets, destroy markets, and move these things around. To the point where you can wage economic warfare, which is not something that I found to be possible in any other Paradox game. It's something I was looking for in Victoria 3 that is being trended towards in Victoria 3, but I feel like can be achieved in EU5. One thing, for example, I did as Serbia was I created a market over here, and I would try and pull as many of these things. So I was trying to strengthen my market, try and pull. The way it works is a location will decide on a multitude of different factors which market it will sell its goods to, right? So if something's produced in that province, whether it be chairs or if it's a base resource like wood, right? Bean, right? Legumes, then they will be they will be sold on that market, and that market access.
And even if you're influential enough, chat, you can like invite other countries, or it's like offer market access or whatever it was called. Like even if you're as big as them, if they feel like you're a big boss enough, they will be like, oh yeah, okay, sure, we'll join your market as well, and you suck in other huge countries. And you know, I feel like this was maybe more influential, at least early game, in the previous patch that we had, like which is like the week or two ago patch. Whereas in this one, for example, the first game I tried out, because I keep trying them all the time and it's so hard, was Florence. So I was like, okay, I'm doing a chill game as Florence. Boom, got all of Tuscany, expanding into, you know, southern Italy. We're going for Emilia Romagna as well. And I was like, okay, now I'm banging. This is when I make the market. So now I'm about to be swimming in money. I built up all of the relevant buildings already making huge money from Genoa and Venice, by the way. But I'm like, now with the Florence market, we're going to be swimming in it. I started spending 100 ducats on food. I started losing money on everything. So I was like, wait, they changed something here. I don't know what they changed, right? So then I was like, okay, I messed up. I actually shouldn't have created a market now, because I was way richer when I was trading in Genoa and Venice. So then I go back. I'm like, okay, now do I gotta spend bullshit to destroy the market? Okay, how do I get out of the situation, right? So even with whatever
you can mess it up
made,
easy.
You know?
You can mess it up easy.
Yeah, you can mess it up easy.
I will say I had a couple of people in my chat say, "Oh, are these things still going to be end nodes?" That's not how this works anymore. There's no trade flows in terms of like static trade wins or anything else like that.
Yeah.
If you want a good in a market because you are lacking it, if I am lacking legumes and I need it because my people want it because they pop needs, let me just take a little slice of life here. My population is unhappy because they don't have access to something. I'm going to go and get that thing, right? I'm going to import it. I'm going to spend the money on it, or I'm going to facilitate it and make money off of it. My people are now happy. They're less likely to revolt. They're going to, like, it's always a system that goes into a system.
To explain it in the simplest way, chat, let's say you're playing as Naples. They're in the market of Naples. And you reach, let's say you got, what was it called? Like trade, whatever. Like how far you can go with the markets, right? Let's say you're playing as Naples and you can trade in the market of, on that image right there, Naples, Barcelona, Genoa, Venice, Dubrovnik. Let's say it's like that. It's very simple. In Naples, you produce beans. People that live in the Barcelona market want to buy beans. You sell your beans from the Naples market in the Barcelona market. Or Genoa or Venice, right? It's super real lifey, simplified. Obviously in EU4 terms, you know, you got the modifiers and then you got market advantage and stuff like that. But in the simplest terms, I make something here, I sell it there. Or I need something from there, I buy it from there and get it to here, right?
So now we've spoken as laymen.
Real life.
OVV, how do you feel about trade and markets?
So, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I think it has one of the worst sections of UI in the entire game.
Yes, I will give that.
I
agree.
It's really awful to interact with. Like, to explain this a little bit, it's a really cool system, and I love trade. So, because the way that I approached this game, right, I jumped in, and I was of the opinion going in, there are probably, since I can automate so many systems, some systems where I will go, why is this not directly automated anyway? This is a waste to show it to me and let me interact with it. I was wrong about this. I really have to say this. I don't agree with previous me. This is where I changed my opinion, and now I'm objectively correct. Before that, I wasn't. But essentially, I dove into it, and I de-automated more and more systems. And I can tell you right now, do not fully de-automate.
Do you want to quickly explain what automation is before, like, in case people are watching?
Oh yeah, okay. So the way it basically works, when you jump into the game, you can focus on a couple of things. You can automate. If you've played House of Iron 3, then you will know this, but then you're also very old and probably not tuned into a live stream. If you don't want to interact with a particular element of the game because you don't understand it yet, you want to understand something else, you can automate it. And as far as I can tell,
too big to care.
Yeah. If you're too big as well. So let's say, for example, I don't want to manage my cabinet, or I don't want to manage, my troops. I don't want to deal with this. Let's just have the AI do it. As I see it right now, I believe that you literally just get the AI in that field as if your country was AI. So it's the same as other AI nations. And so what I started doing is I was like, okay, so I understand this system now. Let me de-automate this. Let me manage this manually, yada, yada. And I went my way through there and had a good time. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to de-automate trade. And the thing about traders, I saw somebody compare it to Imperator Rome, and I wish that were true, because Imperator Rome makes you do everything manually, and nothing happens unless you get involved. It sucks. It's not great. Most importantly, also, it has a very primitive system. So if you look at the markets right now, I don't need to be with land in a market. I don't need to own the market capital. There are ways like my navy. I can go with so many different ways, like trade outposts, to get market advantage, which allows me to buy first and makes it so that I have more capacity that allows me to trade more in general. It is so good. It means I showed up in India and I was like, I would like to buy your spices. Hey, give me your spices. So I was like, I rocked up with this massive navy and we just hung out in front of the coast. We, were in every port. And I got to trade the spices. It made me incredibly rich without holding any piece of land there. But the thing about traders, that a lot of trading, different from Imperator Rome, is going on in the background.
Yes.
Victoria 3 does it similarly now, at least with like what the volume is. There's so much going on, you don't want to rule it all. You want to kind of like set the market conditions, right? And then it just happens in the way that you want it to happen. So for example, if you see a market that has a good that you really like, your estates, so your pops, your vassals, all of them can get involved. Your trade companies, for example, as well, can get involved and trade for you. But I'm telling you right now, there is an element of trade that you do want to de-automate because it's so good and so satisfying. If you know of the triangle trade, as we talked about, if you know
It's
of
back to
peppers
slavery.
and cloves, and basically the idea is there are strategic trades. And I think in the content creator scene, we all will just start calling this is the Father Loris document trade. Because Father Loris, he wrote a document where he explains how trade works and how tedious it is, but there's this amazing piece of trade where you, this is the luxury resource like lacquerware from China. How do I get this home? And once you fight your way through the UI, which is really bad, like
there are
it's such
buttons
a
that you don't
system.
know are buttons, and it's it is a little bit tricky.
It's such a complex system. I get why the UI doesn't, but once you figure out, oh my god, I love trade dominance in this game. I really, really do. It's so fun. You're gonna walk away from this being like, holy moly, I actually just created my own trade empire. It's nuts.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on the fact that you wanna like never fully de-automate trade, right, and stuff like that. And going back to even more basic stuff than what you said, like doing manual trades, the luxury goods and stuff like that, you want to reach. At the start, someone is going to be like, okay, I've just gotten EU5. I've learned this system, that system. So far, I've had trade automated. Yeah. Now, let me see how trade works. And the first thing that you're going to come up with is, okay, you open up all the trades, and the game suggests like trades for profit, trades for pop needs, or whatever. And you're like, okay, let me sell/buy this, make money.
Yeah.
And then the month ticks over, and you're like, wait,
I need to change.
Now I gotta change it. Now I gotta stop selling/buying this and start buying
if you are completely reactive, then it does feel like you're like a crypto bro day trader of like sell, buy. Like you do need to have like a degree of awareness of how it works if you want to engage with it and like actually try and learn it. Otherwise, like Hawk's saying, legumes 5 + 5 + 5. Legumes are gone. Drop them. Buy gems, glass, lacquerware. Go. Like there is that, and one advantage that you have over the AI, we'll talk about the AI later, is that you can future plan things. So, for example, one thing that Hawk and I did, and this was, to be clear, this was in the first patch that we played.
Version that we got.
This is the first version.
This was like
a while back.
Ago.
So we played as the smallest nations of the HRE, and all we did was build up like all of these manufactured goods in our place, and we were making so much money because everyone had to buy from us because we were making it cheaper than everywhere else, meaning that it was no longer economically viable for them to make it themselves. They would just buy it from us, right? And that's the kind of like economic balance that you can do. So if you think I'm going to make a loss short-term for long-term gain, you can start to mess around. I just do want to show, the last thing on markets here is the comparison between the markets map mode in 1337. This is the market map modes in 1798. So to be clear, you can see that these things change. Crazy that Scotland and Ireland are in the Bangor market and England's in the Kingston market. That shifted around from London and Dublin for sure. But you can start to see... No idea, mate.
Cambodia?
Mate, no idea. But you can see right? the Lisboa market has been destroyed. Things have been changed. Cyprus has its own market. So this is quite dynamic. as a system, which is very cool. Also, in a war, you can have, for example, let's say for whatever reason, Tunis now has its own market, thank God. But before it used to be part of this, I can't even pronounce that, this Algerian market, right, down here. The market capital was there. I fought against Tlemcen to then move the market capital to my territory. That's something you can do.
Oh yeah, that's a very cool thing. So ideally, chat, you'd want to be the owner of the market. Well, how do you call it? Capital or center?
Yeah, the market province. So Pest is the market center in Nuremberg, Genoa, Venice,
Basically,
Naples.
The market is named after the province / the location.
Yeah.
You can do something in war called move market capital, right? When you fight someone, let's say you're playing, I don't know, Ragusa, and you fight. Well, actually, that's not a good.
It's a terrible example, mate.
Yeah, that's a terrible example. Let's say you're playing Florence, right? And you fight Genoa. You'll be like, okay, now we move the center of the Genoa market to Florence. Boom. You know, you could also make your own. Obviously, you could move it. You could make them destroy it and stuff like that. I think there's lots of cool options to be done with trade. But I do think that unless you're doing some sort of trade min-maxing run and stuff like that, or you're super into the economy portion, or that's like your goal for that campaign, if you're doing like, I would say 75% of players, the way I think people play these games, based off what I observed over the years, I think most people will be like, okay, I'll mess with that a little bit, then just leave it to the AI. Okay, now a little bit of time has passed. Okay, now let me see what it is. Like OPB said, okay, you do want to do like, for example, the triangle trade manual. Okay, so I'm colonizing, so I'm setting that up. But if you're doing like, I don't know, maybe a Hungary that wants to expand in all of the Balkans and maybe into Poland and stuff like that, you won't really be doing trade stuff.
It's an interesting set because
you'll be trying to make more money, but
I do want to say that I feel like the default when it comes to EU5, default playthrough is I'm trying to sort out my control, I'm trying to sort out my buildings, trying to sort out my trade. Like, you do have to have a reason to go and conquer, generally speaking. Like, I will be loath to go and fight unless I have a specific reason in mind. If you want to do a conquest-focused game, then you do need to, like, almost have that mentality forced into you, right? Like, you want to go, I want to conquer Rome as France. That's what I want to do, and then you go and do it. I feel like the default game is very much like, I'm trying to maximize what I have, and then I'll expand a little bit.
That's why the start is so slow.
Yeah.
I feel like, and this, I'll move on to a little bit of a content creator perspective, which I'm sure is not going to be relevant for 99% of everyone watching, but at least for Laith and myself, the way we do our games is like, we set out to do this like wacky or difficult goal as this obscure nation or something like that. Obviously, we've done the Byzantiums and the Frances and the Englands and the Spains too, but right, and you jump in as, let's say, some tiny obscure country, or maybe not even that tiny, but let's say as Byzantium, right? Obviously, everyone's gonna do a Biz video. In EU4, you'd be like, okay, boys, here we are as Biz. Now we do the setup. This is how we get out of the bad situation. And literally in 20 minutes playing in real lifetime, you're out of that and you're fighting the Ottomans. And it's only been 2 minutes for you guys in the video. Whereas in EU5, man, once again, I'm saying this is only a content creator perspective, so this is not a problem for anyone watching. You spend so much time over there playing slowly, and you're like, okay, I'm trying to get out of debt. What do I do? Okay, now I got this horrible situation coming up. Okay, let's build buildings, but no. Okay, Black Death. Half of people die. Even if I built up buildings, now they're useless. So now you're even poorer, trying to build up more buildings, and you're like in this loop, like Laith said, trying to make what you already have. You're trying to extract the maximum you can from what you already have before you move on and do something, well, entertaining, to be honest, because I don't know, I don't think it's that much fun to watch someone build roads. Maybe it is in City Skylines.
It's satisfying. This is the thing. It's kind of the inverse of like a game like Victoria 3, where I feel like a lot of people enjoy watching it versus playing it because you can kind of get the feeling without doing it, right? I think the player counts reflect that. Whereas EU5, I feel like it is a lot more satisfying to build the roads and slowly get control ticking up versus like
to watch someone do
instant.
That.
Okay, well that's done. Like I think there is still the same idea of, okay, I kind of want to go through it. Like that's fine. And obviously, with regards to EU4, we're talking about a game that's almost a decade and a half old. So the tricks and tips are already done. Obi, I want you to take us away a little bit here with what I want to move on to next, which is war. So how did you find, because I feel like we're going on to it in terms of the conquest side of things. How did you find war? How did you find conquering stuff? How did you find the mechanism of going to war first? Specifically, not armies, because we'll move on to that in a second, but the macro idea of war.
Yeah. That's it. This one is really like, it's so weird. The way that I primarily go to war, because it kind of like, it sets the pace and you don't need to sacrifice stability. Stability, I don't know, maybe I'm overvaluing it, but it seems so important and it's so good. And sacrifice, like, no casus belli wars, I don't know. But basically, I primarily use the parliament to go to war. So for me, the experience
explain what that is?
like, yeah, so basically you have your estates, and these estates want you to host a parliament. It has different
3 minutes,
names,
boys.
depending on who you are, right? So like you might have a different term like council or whatever for it. But the idea is, during this parliament session, you can give certain concessions. Sometimes they're randomly kind of assigned what you have as an option. Sometimes they're super no-brainers. It's like, oh no, Mannheim will lose 20 opinion of me. It's like, okay, who cares? And once you have... basically, because what you do during this parliament session is you want to pass a primary thing. You select this and then you pass this, but you need 50 plus 1% to do this. To get a CB from parliament during that session, you need to have 100%, you spend 50% on the CB, and then you still win the parliament debate and you're good, right? You could technically also lose it, you get some drawbacks, but whatever. You always want to win it. The thing about CBs is, I don't get it, okay? Like, I have so many hours in this game now, but I don't get how to reliably understand when I can also justify a CB.
Yeah,
sometimes I just have one and I can just use it.
There is an interesting thing there with regards to sometimes you'll be looking at a nation and it will say there is no casus belli possible for us to create. And that is always a little bit confusing. To be clear, chat, there is a variety of different casus belli that exist, but what he's talking about is you do call up the parliament and then you essentially ask your parliament, hey, get me the CB on this guy. Like, let's go. There are
it's on a province. Always.
Yes, it's on a province, and you can pick the province as well. Like, you can pick the nation that you're going to do it with. So that's like one way of doing it. You get this parliament every 5 years. Sure, like I'm not too happy with it. Again, I think I'm happy to say I might be in the minority. I might be too EU4 coded, where I'm like, I want to be able to just fabricate a claim and go. Which, to be fair, isn't really a thing. But there are a variety of different reasons to go to war. Like, again, you see the First Crusade here. Yeah. The Ottomans like get it through their situation where they can justify an invasion. There is sort of that side of things.
It's really, honestly, like, it is very historic. Like, it's historically sound to say maybe I had agents in your realm or in your country that made it so that there were incidents where, I don't know, my quarter was attacked. The Venetian quarter was regularly attacked in Cairo, in Constantinople, obviously, that kind of stuff. I will say, from a purely mechanical point of view, I wish that we had more ways towards justifying via a spy network, because it's so nicely mechanically embedded. Like, it just feels nice. You're building this up, and I use the spy network anyway to, like, sometimes when I fight a big country, to reveal the entire country. Basically, you have enough spy network, and then you just reveal the fog of war. You see everything, their troop movement. It's really nice. Like, you can plan a lot. But I wish it was more mechanically embedded, because I'm telling you this straight up, and this is one of those opinions that I think it will be very popular once the game comes out. Having to host parliaments, especially because they are so important for your CBs, through the entirety of the game's length is insane. Yeah. It's so long. You host so many parliament sessions, and it's not like they genuinely differ, because it's you trading whatever advantage you can get for whatever you want from them. Which is that kind of... It's nice. That's how it was historically, but it's also like...
You say that, but parliaments themselves, every nation has a parliament, right? And it is kind of... That to me is a weakness, where it's... You're telling me that the Ottoman parliament is the same thing as the Navarrese parliament is the same thing as the Danish parliament. Like, as a system, the parliament, like, you can't go through and dictate all of these different things. But I do feel like this is going to get like, it works. As is, people aren't going to be happy with it, but it does do what it says on tin. I think this is something we're going to see an update in future to try and get that sort of variety. Peace deals. How did you find the peace deals?
Until very recently, really awful. Only because the UI really was awful. It's nice now. I like the UI the way it is right now. I think they restructured it basically. When we started playing, it was like, hey, you need to look at this, and then all the countries are listed in a really silly way. It wasn't great. They reworked it. It's nice. You got buttons to activate specific things that you want to see. Really
They
cool
cleaned
stuff.
it up a lot. The work they've done on the UI, to be clear, chat, it is always going to be ongoing. And it is, as you're saying, a mammoth task. You're going to keep chipping away. It's very tricky.
But I really want to stress with the UI, because I will be extremely critical of the UI, but the UI designers clearly know what the idea is, like where they're going. They have so many great ideas with the search stuff. It's like they understand
the
what
search
they're
stuff
doing.
is beautiful. Like it just is.
So for the rest of Peace Deals, I will say we can like debate the cost of the balancing type of thing. What I think it's mostly like it's workable, it's fine, it's one-sided. Obviously, that's what they kind of communicated really early on into development as well. If I recall this, where that debate came up, why can't you trade stuff? I think it would be too much, because the war goals in EU5, there are so many different ones. You cannot make an AI that actually understands that it's being robbed right now when I give them 16 ducats and take half their land, because there was like some weird little oversight. I will say though, I don't enjoy at all being a secondary war participant. I think that sucks. The AI does whatever it wants. It's not great. I've been in many wars where I was like, yeah, Morocco, let's do it. Let's show Aragon what's going on. And then I pop over there. I siege down 4K. I don't even want to have them, but I'm like, you know what? You take it, Morocco. It's fine. And they're like, they gave us $200. We're splitting it, guys. We're splitting it, guys. Everybody gets something. It's like, excuse me? Yeah.
I don't like the AI.
Well, let's talk about the AI at the end. I think because I think that's going to be the biggest part of contention for a lot of people that want to hear about that.
In that case, I'm going to go back a little bit to the Parliament. I heard you talking about.
Yeah, so we spoke about the Parliament for a bit. We're generally in war and peace right now, but yeah.
Yeah, like the Ottoman Parliament or whatever. Yeah. Like you said, are you telling me that the Ottomans had a Parliament or something like that?
No, I'm saying the Ottoman Parliament is the same as the Navarrese one, is the same as the Danish one, is the same as the Scottish one.
So here's how I look at it. And I had a negative view on this initially when we got access to it. Now I have a positive view once you think of it in a different way. So it's not really Parliament in the sense that the UK Parliament, right? For example, like the mechanic that the UK has or England has in EU4, right? Where you actually call, the parliaments, all the lords and the, well, I guess only the lords and whatnot. The Parliament in EU5 is more like a call diet.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but it's still
the estates and stuff like that. I agree with you that it shouldn't be the Parliament or whatever called Parliament. It should be like gather the estates or talk to your trusted advisors.
I would much prefer that. I 100% agree with you.
So really, it's like that instead of an actual parliament.
For sure, but
like
why?
Future,
like
it will be changed, and it will go back to some countries having a unique actual parliament. Countries that did actually have a parliament, and for the others, I feel like it probably is going to be changed to like called diet or gather.
I think so, and I think frankly that like I would like to see that sort of change indicated. So that's the first thing. That's layer one. Going beyond the cosmetic layer, the way that the Parliament gathers for me right now, I'm going to be so unhelpful to anyone listening to this and be like, I couldn't tell you what I want as the alternative. I can just tell you that I don't like it, because it does feel a little bit inane, as OB said, to like keep on calling this thing over and over again. Then
how do you feel? Quick interruption. How would you feel about setting agendas that you then actually need to complete? We're talking like mini quests. It's not new to EU, obviously, right? This is something that already exists. How do you feel about that concept? Because it's not really there, right?
Yeah, I'd like that because again, like the estates are already
what kind of agendas though? You're talking about the agendas that you open up the game in the outliner, or?
No, like agendas, like as if they gave you like a little quest.
Yeah.
Like you know, agendas like in EU4, right? I kind of like that, like that sort of dynamic. But what I'm trying to say is that like the things that they ask you to do are a little bit sometimes just a bit wacky. I would like estates in general. We didn't really talk about estates, despite that they're super important. But estates kind of operate as a tertiary organization within your nation. Yeah. They give you tax. You give them privileges. They help you, but they also want to get their own thing going. Like they
build their own stuff.
Yeah, they build their own stuff. That it does feel living, breathing. That's what I'm saying. I'm comparing. They've done too well. I'm comparing that living entity to, okay, we'll give you 5% if you don't like if you like automatically drop it. You click a button, -30 opinion with Magdeburg. Cool. plus 10% opinion with plus 10% chance to have this
Parliament is, I feel like,
I don't like it.
in the things you do to get things is the most similar mechanic to EU4. It really is just like the Parliament in EU4.
But I'm not embedded within the game. I'm just like, I'm looking at resource management. I'm just like, okay, I can concede 5 prestige for this, and it like. Ultimately,
it's just like EU4. You lose some sailors to pass a vote.
Right? Like, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't like that because you just click. Like, there's nothing to it. I understand. I am playing a spreadsheet simulator. That is not lost on me. But the reason I'm playing this and not Excel World Cup is because I like the storyline that goes with it. I like the skinning of things, and so peeling that back a little bit and reducing it to resource balancing is you want to avoid that as much as possible. You just kind of click through it. Looking at. Let's go. You know what? Let's switch out just in the interest of trying to cover a topic. Let's go OPB. Tell me about armies, initiative, battles. Like, how do they work? Because you and I sat down. To be clear, I don't like the fact that and I would like. If you don't say it, I will. That we had to. We would save the game before a battle, watch a battle play out, and then just reload it over again to try and figure out what was going on. Because it wasn't immediately obvious what was going on. We had to kind of try and figure out all of these different things. So you go ahead.
Before you go into the in-depth answer, I'll chime in with my own I personally don't really care
how the army works. You're insane. It's critical.
I win battles.
Yeah, but you
what more do I need to know?
Because let's say there's an army that's
boom. Simple as that.
And I'm glad you said that actually, because it does represent like it is. You can vibes it. But if you would like to be a bit more tactical, this is where like
and it's infinitely harder to vibe it in this.
A lot more tactical, Chad. So that's why I wanted to get my simple.
Okay, let me explain then why I think it's important. If I march in with 15,000 Ottomans at the start of the game to the Gelarids, the Ilkhanate to my east, right, and they have 8,000 men, and they just completely destroy me, I'm like, what the hell happened?
Okay,
well in that case,
this is actually funnier than you know. Because we talked about, so we were in a...
This happened to me!
There was a battle that we were looking at over and over again. It was me, my English troops in Sokoto, and I was losing. And I was like,
this was important, because he's fighting in Sokoto as he's so far ahead, he's meant to be so far ahead in tech. But yeah, carry on.
Did you have professional army?
So basically... Yeah, I had I was beautiful. I was like decked out. I love the way the musketeers and all that stuff looks. Like, I really love the models, right? But
and I'll talk about that in a sec, but yeah, carry on.
We were going over that, and I was like, oh man, we figured out how it works. I'm going to explain it like really simple in a second, in just a little bit. But I was like, yeah, we figured out, that's amazing. And not too long after, he was like, how the hell am I losing these battles? And it's like, I thought he understood. We talked about it.
We did talk about it, but then like I didn't understand. I couldn't see.
Complex. Yeah, it's so much more complex than EU4 in my mind, because you're looking at a completely different formula. And what is even more important, and I know I keep talking about this, but it's like the UX for it is so difficult to grasp because of the way that it is, making it so that it being different is even worse. So think about it this way. You come in, you have a battle. If there are cannons, the cannons fire. They either fire at each other or you fire at the people that are on the backline, and then you rob them of their morale. You got 3 flanks, and the battle begins, but not everybody is on the battlefield. Instead, troops try to get onto the battlefield wherever there is space. Let's not get into the details, that's okay. If you have fast troops, you can have a situation where you have, let's say, 9 units.
You have to say the word initiative. Yeah. It is a thing. It is a thing.
With the initiative, they are trying to fill the frontage. The frontage is how much space is per flank. And the way it works is, if you have very fast units, and they really make it to the battlefield incredibly quickly, and your enemy has slow units, you're going to have like 9 of your horses, they're going to have like 1 unit trickling in, it gets wiped, another unit trickles in, gets wiped again. The story here is that essentially, until you have professionalization where your troops can withstand and eat damage. So assume I'm a slow troop, I'm a slow army, and I'm very slow at getting to the battlefield. And I can't take any damage, so I just die. I die because I show up alone while I have 1 trillion horses against me. If I'm professionalized, I will be like, okay, I can eat some damage, and then after a couple of ticks, more of my friends show up and things go well. Now here's the kicker, which I was like, this is amazing. I was winning the Holy Year Wars England, and I was like, yeah, I had a great time. I couldn't have told you why. It turns out the British have archers as their levies, and archers as levies have high initiative because you don't need to be fast if you have range, right? It's unhinged, it's so good. So I really like the battle system, because if I fight a different enemy in a different territory, I can win depending on my army makeup, and I can lose depending on my army makeup, right? There's so much customizability of what you can do because the system isn't just 2 lines, meet, boom,
which I think is very
right?
important. It's tricky to understand, but it does give a lot of nuance. If I'm going to be fighting a horse-based army with a lot of initiative, to be clear, what will happen is I think a D100 is rolled. That's the likelihood of them getting in. Like OPB is saying, like a couple of these feudal levies will trickle in, and if enough of them can arrive at the same time, or enough of them arrive after someone sustains damage, well then those horses are gonna get wiped out because they're gonna get weaker. They're gonna be weaker than these professional troops. That's what's happened with Sokoto, because he was fighting guys who were technologically inferior but had really high initiative. He would get
extreme initiative.
They would get to the battlefield instantly, and then suddenly these really professional redcoats were surrounded by guys with pistols, and there's just too many of them going back and forth. So it is interesting. But if I know I'm going to be fighting cavalry to the east, I need to prepare for that.
It's like the Dothraki charge on the Lannister army, chat.
Exactly like that. Think about it.
Yeah.
And
Shout out Game of Thrones.
from a macro point of view as well, troops can hide in certain terrain. If you want to think Total War, where like, oh, my troops are in the woods. This is a big thing with OPB in the 100 Years War. He hid his like little archer guys in the forest, going he. They don't know I'm here, and then you just jump out and take them out. So you can hide troops. It's not immediately obvious to you that your troops are hidden from the enemy. So you're like, what the hell is this guy doing? He's going to rot straight into me. And you don't know. It should be bigger, I think, saying like, oh, they're hidden. Because you don't know that they can't see you. They just walk straight in. It's quite an interesting thing because like I feel like with the UI design, it has taken away a level of tactics there, because if it was more immediately obvious to me, maybe I'm just an idiot and I don't see it. If it was more immediately obvious to me that I could see that my troops are hidden, I'd be hiding troops, and then they come and take me out, and they don't know I'm here. I can like 4D chess it.
I can explain to you why you are unsure whether you have a small brain or are just blind, okay? And the answer is...
okay, why does the two options?
I want to clarify this. I want to clarify this for the forum as well, because I saw the forum pick this up and was like, it was kind of mixed up, which happens, don't worry about it, okay? But basically, you get a notifier, you get a marker that says this location is hidden and you are hidden when you have the army selected. But the problem with that is when you are at war and you are standing somewhere and the location is hidden, it's just dark. You know it's hidden because you can't see it. Like, so the moment you get this information, you already know it. It doesn't matter. So you don't really have an overview. The way it functions is really cool, and I think for multiplayer this is gonna rock. Like, this is gonna be awesome, the way that you can handle it. But I will also I also had a great situation. I was fighting in Georgia, and this was the war where I decided as the Ottomans, I'm not gonna take over Georgia. I don't care about this. Where I was in the mountains and I was like, holy crap, I can see no tile. Like,
yeah, you don't know what's there. Mountains. You don't want to march in because you don't know they're there, and that is really, really, really cool. The different ways you can wage war is interesting. You can just go Red Hawk, right click, stack, bigger, better, I win. One thing you can do is if I'm playing as Serbia and Hungary invades me, I can fight asymmetrically. I can do asymmetric warfare. It's trickier. It's harder for me as a player to do. But I can have a bit more, okay, I'm going to hide troops here. It's very important to know the terrain that you're fighting in. Another thing is if I'm going to go for a lightning war, right? I need to make sure that my army, if it's a professional army, has a lot of supply, because the way it works is province to province.
You want to push through, you know?
Yeah, province to province. You want to take a province, then move to the next one, then move to the next one, because you've got to secure a supply line.
Supply, very important.
It's so important, and it will tell you where your supply is coming from. Not always exactly why it's coming from a certain one. That's something you just have to know. And it is what it is. But let's say I need to just rush for this capital. For example, I was playing as Tunis, and I had a Perso Union Casus Belli over Morocco. Their capital is in Fez. I destroyed their armies, no problems. But I started to lose the war because I couldn't get to Fez fast enough, because I had to grind through these mountain forts bit by bit, and I just didn't have the supply lines. What I needed to do was either build up my navy to go round and then dive in, or I need to have big supply trains to rush for them. Another thing that's interesting, I don't know yet, I need to do some tests on this, how important it is. But let's say I'm fighting against the Golden Horde, or I'm fighting against a very cav-heavy nation. If I charge for his provinces that are producing horses, he will be deprived of those horses, right?
Oh,
it will be harder for him.
Yes.
So the same thing, if I rush as I'm about to be arrested by Paradox for telling you this, you can hear the sirens. if I rush for the areas that are producing weapons in Hungary, let's say, then I'm gonna deprive them of those weapons. They're gonna have stockpiles. It's not a foolproof thing. They're not gonna suddenly all give up. But that is something that you can do.
Cool that you can do.
It's very cool. Equally, I was selling weapons to Hungary and Serbia. If they declare war on me, they don't have any weapons. They can't do that. I was securing my independence. Oh. So there are interesting things that you can do with that. But again, I feel like when it comes to this kind of like UI stuff, it's not immediately obvious how logistics works. Here's the food capacity here. You like for the most part you can stay in a province and you'll forage in that area. It's kind of tricky. Playmaker said
you can tell by the way how much they're working on the UI that this is not what the UI looks like anymore.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Oh, yeah,
for sure. This is old.
Very old.
I want to quote something someone said. Supply lines, logistics of food, an important war. Playmaker said it doesn't really matter, and it doesn't affect him. I want to say something about I want to say something about Playmaker's specific style of play. He was determined, like, I want to do a world conquest. So all he was focusing on was I want to get it further and larger. His entire thing was decentralized because he had to produce enough food in areas to. Because remember when he was asking in the Discord, OPB, you were talking to him like in chat about this. He had to decentralize the entire empire, from recalling, because he couldn't get enough food to produce it. There are things that you can do. Ultimately, if you have 100,000 men and your opponent has 6,000, okay, who cares? Yeah. You win. There isn't like some sort of secret thing. You don't like zoom in and like you're gonna get Gerald, who is like troop number 2 to go. Nothing like that. But this is a system you can engage with. The same thing with like Imperator Rome, right? You can just go heavy infantry, stack the modifiers, send them in. Don't care about what like tactics my guys are using, like the specific shock tactics, if you guys know what Imperator Rome, how that works, and like c'est la vie. But if you want to get a minutiae advantage, then you can play like that. It's particularly important when you're playing smaller nations.
You can min-max it a lot, chat.
Yes,
if you want,
otherwise,
you can min-max it a lot.
Straight in.
For a lot of countries, you will need to, man.
Yes,
you will need
to get those smaller advantages.
You can definitely go off of vibes, but like the Ottomans with the Jailerids or whatever, or like OPB with Britain versus Sokoto or something like that. One thing I will go back to, which is, I guess, kind of warfare related as well, is, we have, well, I personally, have been complaining about how, it's so slow at the start and you can take so little and stuff like that, which, obviously I understand why the game is like that. But one thing I actually really do like is how fast certain wars can be, especially at the start of the game. And the fact that you can only, like, for example, if you rarely get some sort of a, conquest CB for something, or if you build up a parliament or something like that, claim, you can just siege down the province. A lot of times there's no forts or anything like that. 1 or 2 big battles, like let's say 6K versus 4K at the start, I'm talking levies, and boom, 80% war score. I'm talking you can get wars done. Like certain wars I've done quite often is like,
get it quite quick.
For example, Serbia versus Biz, Florence versus Siena, Pisa, and some of them similar sized nations around Florence, Milan on Pavia, which you want to go in early, right? So those wars, especially the Serbia on Biz one, man, you can have done in like 2 months. You walk in, siege Thessaloniki, beat them in a battle, you got a half of Biz. Right, I like how fast some wars
it is
are,
fast paced, and it does represent like
how you don't gotta full siege someone like in EU4, right? But as that goes on, and as the AI, and we'll get to the AI, they love to build so many forts. So if you end up fighting a nation that has 3 provinces, man, which is what, like, we could say 15, 20 locations, right?
Yeah.
You're sieging 15 forts. Come on. 100 years into the game, not early game. I'm talking.
No,
about.
it is a little bit rough, but I think it's the one thing that they won't be able to do. I don't think anyone can do this. Like, I think it's beyond modern technology. I don't think it's beyond modern technology. I think Victoria 3 is trying to do this in terms of like localized conflicts, but like the idea is if you want to like. You're gonna raise all of your levies all the time and go straight. You know what I mean? Like you're not gonna do this thing where like it's a border conflict, so I'm only gonna like half raise things. You know?
I personally have been.
Well, I'm saying, does the AI do it? Have you noticed? Because I have found that like
noticed on the AI.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think you can model the like that sort of like yeah, like less. I mean, OB, what do you think?
I mean, so with that, I will say that as long as you're in the levy phase, so the AI could probably like just raise a couple of their troops, but then you run into the problem. The player can exploit. Like, there's so many ways where you run into and then the player exploits it, and it actually sucks way more than if they just raise everybody, right?
Yeah.
With the professionalized troops, I will say. And this was I really love this, and I think as a player you have a much easier time counteracting it than the AI, because you are a human being and you should believe in yourself that you can understand game mechanics. But I was in the new world, and I was like, why are my troops not reinforcing? And then I hovered over it, and a couple of tooltips deeper, it was like, yeah, this market just doesn't have the goods. We don't have the weapons. We don't have the quality that you need. And I was like, that is amazing, because that means I don't want to bring in too many. I don't want to refocus my trade just to supply these troops. I really, really like this. So like, I think limited warfare to a degree does exist in the game, but I think it's difficult for the AI. I want to stress two things as well. The first one being about forts. If you're watching this right now, don't be freaked out. They just changed about like how funding for forts works. The AI doesn't understand yet, but they're teaching the AI. It's a planned change of like behavior. We're just sitting on the version where we are so addicted to playing this game that we're like, well, I guess I'll just eat dirt and play like this anyway, right? So this is the way it is. The other thing that I really want to bring up, and this is because General just mentioned this in chat, where it's kind of like, okay, versus AI versus PvP. So I personally don't really believe in this. I do also want a challenging game or like a fun game, I should say, an engaging game in single player. But I'm going to be straightforward with you, and I think people like me, and because I'm also one of the people, I mean, all of us are the people that like, we play a lot. We think about this game significantly more than the average person playing this game does. I'm going to be real with you. I think the vast majority of players will be challenged by this combat system, by the AI, by the economy, by getting things done. Just because this game is incredibly complex, and the fewest people on this planet have played 4,000 hours of EU4 or any other grand strategy game. So from where it's standing, can things get better? Should they be improved? Yeah, absolutely, always, right? Like there's always like, how do you do it? What do you facilitate? There has to be something done. But when I look at like the player numbers of like CK3, for example, just in general, I'm like, man, there are so many people that are playing that game, and they're like, I'm still having a good time because it's challenging. And I will tell you, I think CK3 is obviously one of the most intuitive and not easiest games per se, because you need to understand a whole bunch of things, but it's so intuitive to get into it and to understand stuff like warfare as well. But people are having fun, because it's like that stuff is way more complex than we think about these games 24/7. We write about it on forums, we talk about it on Discord, on stream. We host streams where 1,100 people are watching, and it's like, how could they possibly not understand warfare? It's like, that's ridiculous. It's like, come on, like this stuff is really, really complex. Yeah. I will say, I think the majority of players will be like, I lost the battle. I have no idea why. I'm gonna close the game, right? Because it is complex.
Yes, I think that's gonna be the tricky part there. And I mean, you touched on something. I'm surprised you didn't go deeper into it when it comes to the not supplying your troops and therefore making it localized, which is something that, frankly, when I was talking about raising levies, I just didn't think about, which is very true. Also, I can see Hawk got confused because I knocked on his stream.
Yeah, I don't know how to.
I don't know what that is. I don't know how it is. I have no idea. I just thought it'd be funny to click knock on. Like, it said knock on Twitch. I was like, all right, I'm gonna do that. Still, okay. Let's move on a little bit from war and towards expansion. And I wanna talk about something that, frankly, this is a crazy thing to preface this with. Something that I really have not dived too much into, which is colonization and discovery.
Same,
I could see a couple of things that people are saying in chat regarding that earlier. Any country can colonize, chaps. In fact, I'll show off this here. Any country can colonize. So at the start of the game, you can just start doing it. Start exploring, right? Is the best way. Is best way to do it. Technology will unlock, right? This is, by the way, when I'm referencing these sorts of things, this is a dev diary that came out today at 3 p.m. This is obviously going to be way...
that's from today?
Yeah.
But this is the dev diary, not the Tinto Talks.
Exactly. Yeah. So there are dev diaries in their Tinto Talks, right? Some of the stuff we're looking at Tinto Talks, when I'm putting it up on screen, it could be massively outdated. Like when it comes to the graphics, so don't change that. Don't put too much faith in that. So when it comes to discovery and exploration, anyone can do it, but it is affected by things like technology. Something like overseas exploration will allow you to, shockingly, I feel like explore overseas. OB, you've done more of the Colonial game as England. How did you find that? Was it a satisfying experience for you? I'm not asking about the AI side of things. I know you'll want to talk about that. We'll talk about that later.
I can keep the AI like pretty short here. The
Sure.
AI it was just a bug that kept the AI from doing anything.
Yes.
Now they're doing a lot.
Now they're colonizing.
Yeah, no, they're doing it. Yeah, they're doing stuff. And you have a game rule, by the way, just for the record as well. You can select who of the AI. If you're like, I really want a historical like colonization style thing, you can set that in the game rules. I really like that. Is one of my favorite game rules, I think, just because it's like that's a cool choice. But anyway, so I was doing colonization and. So the negative for me, the main negative kind of is the idea that there's so much that I need to click because you explore by area, I believe, right? So area is Florida, for example, is an area, and then Florida itself has like 6 provinces or something, and all of these provinces are individual colonization targets. So there's a lot of clicking. There's a lot of like I send 1 trillion explorers at any given moment to find stuff that I'm looking for. When it comes to the actual gameplay, so like what's going on there? I'm kind of. So I haven't done a full game yet where the AI does properly colonize. I really enjoy being able to colonize and doing it not just for the purpose of money, but for a particular good that will make me money. So
do you want to quickly explain like the different types of why you would want, like, for example, you said earlier about spices, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just want to gently steer you because I want people to know how important this is. Yeah. Why would you colonize? If it's expensive, if it's tricky, if it's complex, what are the points like why would you do it?
So let's say, for example, you have Egypt and Egypt is your rival. Egypt makes a lot of money sending sugar towards Europe because they grow a ton of sugar at the start of the game. As long as they do that, they're going to make a ton of money. I'm talking a ton of money. I've talked to a couple of people that were like, oh, I can't make that much money with trade. I had, at some point, the majority of my money exclusively coming from trade. I was able to, like, really dial down my taxes. It didn't matter anymore because I was trading so much. So if I say I hate Egypt, or maybe I have a different reason. I look at a market and I see, oh, these people really want this good that is so far away and that isn't common anywhere. I can bring it to them. So you have those 2 reasons if you want to harm somebody that already benefits from having this. I did a short on this as well, right? With the fur trade. The Russians benefit massively from the fur trade. You can effectively sabotage them and make money if you get fur from other sources like Canada and the North America, yeah. And then the third reason, that I would call the third reason anyway, is basically gold, right? Because there's a ton of gold in the New World. You have it in Brazil, you have it in the Andes, you have it in Mexico, and you have it in Hispaniola, so whatever it is called, I think Haiti, right? And so the base idea is you have these reasons to expand, and they will differ depending on who you are. For example, let me be clear as well here. I was the Ottomans, and I was like, I'm going to go into the New World. I'm going to do all that stuff that I did with England. I'm going to make so much money. Then I went there, and I looked at my trade budget, and I was like, holy moly, I'm paying like $500 to Spain just because of Gibraltar. I'm not going to do this. I'm gifting them money. Why am I doing this? So the position that I was in at that point led me into a different level of expansion. But let's say you have a colony, and let's say you do something there. With that colony, you can, of course, claim territory. They will pay you taxes, like you know from EU4. You can instigate fights between colonies as well, that kind of stuff. But most importantly, I feel anyway, with those colonies in the New World, they will handle differently from having colonies elsewhere. Like in the New World, it's relatively empty, all things considered, especially because you bring like literal murder viruses as you come to the New World. But basically, it's easy to settle in there to get it done. Oh, can you check the treaty? Actually, I like this treaty a lot, and I think there might still be some work that you want to do. The Treaty of Tortillas, which is it's a nice flexible thing. The first 2 colonial. The first 2 what are they called? The Catholic nations, they get a deal and you get to negotiate. You like basically try to move the settlement, you know, the treaty line. It's really cool. But all that aside, the AI also colonizes blah blah. The more you dominate, the more can you bring goods back into the old world. You basically make those pops happy in the old world and you get all the money. Now in India, you don't actually want to do that same level of colonization. I really like the way that because I think they have all of this in EU4, right? You got trade companies, you have colonial charters, you have all that stuff where you say, hey, in the board game, this already works, we can make money for this. And then they said, historically, in North America, South America, you probably want to have colonial states. Maybe you want to expel, during the Reformation, for example, all the Protestants. You're like, hey, you really are tanking my cause, you're making it impossible for me to have a good country. So, you're just saying go to the colonies. If you get to India or to China or to Japan, you probably don't want to do this. You want to have a couple of outposts. I took all of Ceylon. Okay, my apologies. I took a little bit. It's a lot of land, but
you got a little bit of colony.
A little bit.
Then you just want to dominate the market. Okay, and so that level, both of these are imperialism and colonization, but they're so different. and the game has both of them.
Yes.
I
I think
love
it's
it.
very, very
Really
cool.
good.
And I just want to highlight...
One thing-
yeah, go for it.
I think I forgot what I was gonna say, but yeah, no, actually I didn't. Once again, chat, just like OPB explained it, man, it goes down to a lot more. And keep in mind, I'm a huge fan of the board game aspect of EU4. Once again, a lot of these systems go back to compare them to real life, man. You don't even gotta think of it as a game. Like OPB just explained. Okay, why am I doing this as England? Okay, because the Russians are making so much money from fur. Well, fur is cool. I'm gonna go to Canada because I can't go to Russia, right? Obviously,
Well, this is one of the driving things
Russia,
for
right?
colonization.
Yeah.
They wanted to
Yeah.
cut out
Same
the middleman
thing,
of Ottomans, and so the Portuguese and the Spanish went west. And what he's describing is,
Like you
is
said
the
about
exact
Egypt,
thing.
the sugar. Okay, Egypt making so much sugar. In an ideal scenario, the Ottomans would take that over. They control the trade over to India through Suez, blah, blah, blah. You're like, okay, yeah, we go around them. Now we're making our own sugar. And not only do we not have to go through the Ottomans, but we're bringing in completely different sugar, right? So it's a lot more real life. And the thing you said with India, I agree as well. You know, you don't want to, EU4 incentivizes you to expand in India as well, territorially hard, right? You let's say you're doing a British one, boom, charter company. Okay, now I got access points. Okay, now I'm conquering India from everywhere. And that's the most economically beneficial thing you do in EU4. You conquer it, whether you give it to the, well, now recently newly formed British East India Trading Company, whether you keep it for yourself, whether you do the, manual trade company, whether you state it to route all that trade, whereas in EU5 it's completely different. You're there to get that stuff from them so you can sell it over there, right? So it's, one thing I'll ask you as well, OPB, is how do you feel about the wait that you have to endure before actually getting like into some serious colonization? Talking about New World, growing large colonies, making lots of money from them.
So
like, what's the realistic time frame we're looking at here to, for example, be dominant in Eastern North America as the UK?
So I think you can get that pretty quickly, and I did an observer game yesterday, so it was really funny to see. They settled all of Quebec and like Maine and all, like New England basically, and they barely got any money out of it because it's like too cold. Nobody was moving there. It was like this place sucks. I don't know what you want me to do over there. I think it differs. I think you can, and you are kind of incentivized to exploit it faster than was historically possible, just because you do want to see some results from this.
Well, we know what there's something's out there. That's kind of also a key part.
Yes, for sure. I really like that Loris, the Chapel comic about that, where it's like, why are you going west? What do you know? But yeah, so basically the way I see it with that is by like 1550, I think you can really, really massively benefit from having colonies because you then already have enough people over there. The curve only goes up and kind of towards the end game when the colonies become a little bit unruly and they actually have a situation for this and they can found their own international organizations. Yeah, that stuff, it can cut into your profit line.
Second, real quick.
It's really, really nice that you kind of can go in there and see results relatively quickly. I will actually say, and Hawk, you're right about playthroughs for content creators, but gameplay-wise, for me personally at the very least, I really like the pacing, because it's all like 100 years, right? And then the next phase comes along, and then you get Reformation, Discovery, whatever. I always got something to do basically, and I feel like colonies they really nicely slot in. Like I got something to do, I pop on over, I make some money, and then I look back and I'm like, oh, let's do some religious league wars. Let's hop in there. Let's have some fun.
One thing sorry, and I have a question for you as well. Sorry, I've been keeping these things in my head for so long. Now, OPB, how much do you think the early game setup portion lasts right here? Would you say it's like till past once the Black Plague ends? Do you think that's like the setup phase where you're trying to, see who you're playing, trying to keep everything together, max out control, economy and stuff like that before you go into everything else? Do you think that's the phase, or do you think it's easy to get right into it?
You mean like the way it feels?
Like, like Laith said earlier, you jump in as a country and you're trying to maximize everything it already has before you go for other things.
Yeah, I think there's definitely that phase, especially because you can set yourself up for success, right? I found, I don't know whether this is just balancing, but I found being really harsh and just like sending all the sick during the Black Death.
Expel the sick?
Sending them away.
You do that?
It helps.
You sick man. I just
Yeah,
present
it's great though.
scapegoats.
But yeah, it's I would say yeah for sure. Like you find yourself in a situation where you can figure it out, and then no matter how well you prepare, right after the Black Death, you're sitting there and you go, okay, how much did this set me back? How much can I still get out of this territory? And normally there's a lot there, right? I know people aren't that big of a fan of this. I love Spain. They have an itinerant court. Your capital actually changes when you die. And it's like, that's incredible. I love that so much because it makes it so that I have a different feeling every
What's
time
your
there's
favorite
a different
Spain capital? Sevilla or Toledo?
It has to be Sevilla. Sevilla is just
yeah,
better,
you think
right?
it's
Like,
better?
I think so.
Specifically,
This
for
is the
Colonial
male
or just
equivalent
for
of being
maritime?
of being like an astronomy girl, you know.
Now, Laith, I'm gonna ask you something
Hit
as
me.
well. And this is once again from a content creator perspective.
Sure.
Because of the scale we have here in EU5, right? And because of how long it takes to see things that are actually cool, colonization and the Reformation, and then the super centralization of absolutism and stuff like that. Do you think we will see a slight uptick, or maybe even a comeback of more episodic content? And I'm not talking about Let's Plays of 30 parts, but I'm talking about instead of how
Phase 1,
me
Phase
and
2,
you
Phase
normally
3.
do videos.
No, I don't think so at all. We'll talk more about that afterwards because I think I'll go heavy into like YouTube and everything else as to why. But I think to sort of deflect that immediately into late game versus early game, I will say that it is the nature of these kinds of games that the early game will always see content. Most people don't play beyond like 1600s when it comes to EU4. So when it comes to EU5, I don't see that being any different. I think
Do you think it'll still be 1600s though? Or do you think now, since we're 100 years early, it'll be 1500s? Do you think people are gonna play till 1500, basically 160?
I think they will because the colonization adds such a big dynamic. But I think in the same way that like you have the Age of Revolutions, you have the absolutism mechanic. Most people in EU4 don't see the absolutism mechanic, right, come into play. They stop before that. So I think we're gonna have the same like idea of playing early game over and over again from a content creator point of view. I'll explain that more in detail. Boys, I want to move on to we've been touching on situations and we'll get to those in a second. Specifically country-based flavor, because the biggest concern that I found people had, right, when talking about things like societal values, which if you didn't know is the shifting of things between decentralization and centralization. It is a scale from one end to the other, and depending on your societal makeup, I guess you'd say, or if you have a cabinet minister pushing it directly one direction, which doesn't really make any sense to me, but hey, we're sure he just kind of sits on a corner being like, guys, decentralize, get out of the capital, leave. Again, I'm joshing a little bit, but when it comes to all of these different mechanics, the concern was, how different does each nation feel? If there's an international organization for the Catholic Church and for the Ilkhanate, well, do they feel and play differently? I'll throw it to myself first.
What do you think?
I think that they're like the comparison between the start and the end. I think, in fact, I will show off the mega thread of nations, because I think that they knew that this was kind of going
the flavor one.
Yeah, if you scroll all the way down, there is. In fact, I'll just show it off here.
I think we have it on that link.
Yeah, it's on the link if you scroll down. Like, they've gone through all of these different areas that have specific flavor. I want to pick one at random. Let's go for the Sultanate of Delhi. Let's click on that one, right? The Sultanate of Delhi will have things in it, like, I think that nations feel different primarily because of the systems, which I think a lot of people aren't going to like. I think there are specific things, because ultimately, when you talk about flavor in EU4, it's events. Talk about flavor in Victoria 3.
Ideas and missions.
National ideas, missions, events. Victoria 3 is journal entries. I think it's a little bit too binary. I think things are going to feel different, but I do think that I would like to see more of these different narrative content. Hit me with it.
So
I want to see more narrative content is what I'm trying to say. I want to see more of these like scripted events.
Yeah. And I haven't played Victoria 3 in a while, obviously, but at the start at least, I don't know if this is the case now, and OPB, correct me if I'm wrong, you're a Victoria 3 enjoyer, surely. No. But When playing a country in Victoria 3, at least when it came out, when I was playing it, it was like, what's different about it? Okay, I make up my own things. Okay, I'm Sardinia, Piedmont, so I'll do some Italian stuff. You know, I'm the UK, so I'll do some UK stuff, right? Whereas in EU4, and of course this is because it's the best PDX game of all time, but you know what countries do. Okay, so you jump in as, let's say, that guy, Georgia, for example. Okay, Georgia's got all of these like defensive and morale stuff in its national ideas. Its ideas and missions guide you towards being this like mountain fortress. You know, you spread the orthodoxy through blah, blah, blah. And it's so easy to take a look at. Obviously, it's now easier in EU5 as well because you can see every advancement or every unique thing that a certain country has. But just because these things are so much more accessible in EU4, I feel like it's so much easier to be like, okay, as this country, that's what you do.
Sure.
Right? As Milan, you play tall.
I
As
agree
Castile,
with you for
colonize.
most nations, but as like I'm scrolling through here, you can see like Delhi has and I think a lot of this is going to be early game, which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
Delhi has a lot of flavor here, right? With the specific situations will turn up and that sort of thing. If I show off like another one of these, right? But the problem is, I think if you there's a lot of flavor here, especially with like again, Ilkhanate has their own organization, the People's State goes without saying. But I think when you are looking at nations outside of these ones that have specific scripted content, you're gonna struggle a little bit.
Maybe one thing I was gonna add right here is another thing. It's so easy to become what you're kind of supposed to be in EU4, and I'm personally a big fan of the railroading in EU4. I love it. I love missions. I love the game telling me what to do. In fact, my biggest problem with EU5, aside from the portrait in the top left and the start date, is no missions. I think, you know, this is.
Well, there are missions. You gotta specify that.
Yes,
there are missions, but what do the
There
missions
are
do?
missions.
Is the key point. You might want to say that.
I haven't done a mission.
They are
I've got
tutorial.
more
They
than
are essentially
14,000 hours in EU5 right now. I haven't done a single one, but in EU4, it's easy to become who you're supposed to be, right? Like I said, as that country, you know that's what you do. Sure, you can do the other things as well. No one's stopping you, but like the coolest playthrough, at least for me, is doing what you're kind of supposed to do as that country. In EU5, that is present as well. It is very much present. A lot of these countries have, even more flavor than EU4, man. You know, with their unique estate stuff, unique units, situations for them, international organizations, the advancements, but it's all so spread out, at least, for example, the advancements, which is a merge of like tech and ideas and stuff like that, that let's say if Inca right there, flavor number 32, has 15 unique advancements. Average player, when he plays Inca, he's gonna get 5 of them, right? Like Laith said, you're only gonna play so long. And sure, it's cool. Oh my god, Inca can get, I don't know, plus 50% infantry combat.
You're picking. So nations from this. What I'm trying to say is nations from this list have like specific things that I'm showing off here.
Yeah,
right?
I'm just giving.
I think it's gonna go. They go Polygyny. Damn. I think it's gonna move. Bo said. I mean, I think it applies to Vicky 3. Sorry, I'm catching up here, so I don't know what specifically applies to Vicky 3. By all means, let me know, and I'll
nations are more unique than Vicky 3, less unique than EU4, I would say.
I don't know if I agree with you.
The ones that have flavor, the ones
that have flavor are
better
like,
than EU5
systems. I would say that. Okay, hit me. Oh, go on.
I wanna really jump in here. So I got nothing, just for the record, fundamentally against railroading. I think Johan said something that I completely agree with, and I think we probably all agree with that, where he says, you don't want to have a complete sandbox. You want to have something that resembles history so that you can basically see what's happening. I think it is more interesting to be like, oh, look at these. These are the Ottomans. They're popping up. They're becoming big. Then, oh, wow, I don't know, some random guy. I don't know who that is. Like, I think there's a different level of excitement behind this. However, I am the biggest hater. I hate the way that they talk, and I hate the way that they walk. Everything about the historical content, I am glad that it's there, because if it wasn't, then there would be nothing there, sure, but those events suck. I think they are boring.
I wanted to invite you to talk about this. So go, please, let's just focus on specifically events and how they pop up. because there was the whole thing about a lot of events are imported from EU4. If you want to talk about it, go for it. This is your...
Yes.
I will put you in your box now.
But before I do this, I want to stress one thing, and that is that I think it was, from like a development perspective, and for most players that are not me, it was probably the right choice to say we want to have a massive amount of content there. Because having that content feels better than not having it. I fully believe, I buy into this 100%. However, the events that we have that are historical events, and I specifically want to highlight here as well, there are some mechanically integrated events, and I think those are great. There are the Stanary codes, for example, in England. I think that's fun. It's basically like, if you have the Stanary codes, that's like a historical thing that still exists, by the way, as far as I understand it, where you don't have control over that region. And you can either agitate them, or you go, no, you know what, you can have them. And that is bad for them, because it just means that I'm not investing in them and they become backwater. But that's their own fault. They wanted this, okay? What do you want to say? There are some historical events where I will say they are mechanically nicely integrated, and I like this. For the majority of historical events, they are very EU4 coded. And if you're an EU4 fan, then this will probably be fine for you. For me,
I remember this
really
from
No, I don't. I think you're wrong on that. I don't think it's gonna be fine for EU4 guys. But carry on.
Okay, so the way they function is, you get an event, and they have a nice historical snippet. You learn something, that's cool, I love it. You learn something, and then you get a choice. Either that choice is really lopsided, and you go like, obviously I'm gonna do this, am I stupid? Yeah. Like, you know, you get a small thing as well that says this is the historical choice. Or you go and you do like, oh no, I'm gonna do something else. And then there are some events where it's like, okay, it's not lopsided, but it's like 5 stability versus 10 prestige. And it's like, well, in the long term, this doesn't matter to me whatsoever. It's completely irrelevant. The way that I see the current structure of flavor, and this is not, because I want to stress one thing, I'm a big mechanical and system guy. For me, I'm having a great time with the systemical specifications that I can do for nations, be it the values, be it how do I expand, what do I go against, do I flip the Ottomans to be Shia, what do I do with them, right? There are so many things that I think are fun doing, and the events are not one of them. I could personally live very well without any of these events, because the way that they function is they hold my gameplay, and then I sit there and I'm like, oh, okay, 20 ducats, yeah, take them.
Well,
I get some ice cream, kid.
I agree with you, and I disagree with you at the same time. I agree with you on the EU4 style events, which are like, okay, this is something that I'm not going to read about someone who I don't care about. Do I lose 5 stab or 5 prestige, right? So you learn the event by heart, and you glance at what you have and you click, right? That's how most events in EU4 function. But in EU5, I feel like they've gone further with the events. And for me, at least, who is a big non-carer of these things, I was playing Milan and I was like, okay, oh shoot, it's the Sforza showed up. Okay, now let's see what goes on. So like, okay, now this guy comes in. He's a big player, blah, blah, blah. Do you want to get him in? Okay, and then you choose this. And then you're like, okay, but is this going to come back to bite me in the ass? And then you're like, okay, well, now they want us to move the capital. What the hell? So I feel like you got the EU4 imported events, which some are literally one-to-one events. Yes. But then you got like the EU5 events. And the EU5 events, like you said, are related to certain like situations or mechanics.
More like storylines, almost like you're like, okay, I'm going to opt into this storyline. Yeah.
Historic important characters, like there's a lot of stuff with the Medicis in Florence, with the Viscontis and the Sforzas in Milan and stuff like that. And then like with some, other families, other nobles and biz and stuff like that. So I feel like the events that are made specifically for EU5 are freaking banging. And this is as someone who's never really cared about events. But half of them are like, just...
Well, this is the thing. So the EU4 ones that we know, and this is why I think it's going to be bad for EU4 players, you and I are so hard-coded to know which option is good and bad, we are going to have to unlearn that. If I see something that I recognize in EU5, I've had this problem in EU5,
for example,
I instinctively want to click one or the other, because I think like this is better. But that's not necessarily better in EU5. I think that's a bit of a problem.
Not only to mines.
Yeah.
It's like completely different.
It's completely different. And that's a problem. Again, it's gonna EU4 coded. We're gonna unlearn it. Yada yada. That's fine. Like Hawk was saying, I do like it when it's like, we're gonna invite this person in. Is this gonna lead somewhere? Is there like a whole storyline here? I don't like the ones where it's like, and I get it, they're gonna happen, but it's like, oh no, +5 opinion, -5 prestige. Like when you start, like you, and this is, I hate OPB for this. He has screwed me. I didn't see them like this until he sat me down and explained why I was wrong. Right? I was like, oh, it's in the event. It's fun. He was like, no, what you're doing is you're just topping up a bar. This bar goes up, this bar goes down. When I started seeing events like that, he killed it for me. I was fully immersed. It broke my brain.
I only read
like
ones I've never ever seen, which was like the Ark of the Covenant, and my guy died. So he opened it up, boom, just like the Nazis.
Popped it. It's done.
When I started
like a lot of the
EU5,
character events.
my curve for EU5 started like somewhere down here, and then it was like, whoop, I'm having a good time all of a sudden. And Laith was like here really high, it's like nice. And then I came in and was like, these are just like you balancing bars. And he's like, this is just,
I was like, boom, and then it went back up again. But like, for a moment there, I was like, bro sent me packing. To move on just briefly, I wanna speak about Formable Nations. We're not gonna go deep into each ones, but I just wanna highlight this. So 3 settings that I think people need to know about. Historical formations only. Only allow plausible formations, which is the default. Allow ahistorical formable countries. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to announce Carthage is a formable nation in the game. Ladies and gentlemen, we did it. We got him. That is only going to be formable when this setting is allowed. So if you want to allow ahistorical formal countries, it used to be that you had to be pagan and yada yada, but they changed it, which is amazing, for that to be like possible if you're going to select a ahistorical. Cool. I think this is a cool way of doing it. There is a full list of
Let me stop you just for a second.
Sure.
With EU5 having so many settings that you can tailor to your campaign, for example, like you just showed, allow ahistorical formables, and obviously this is for the AI as well, right? Not just for you, like.
Oh, Generous is here. He said Carthage has one of the best test gov reforms in the game. Let's go! Finally, some recognition. Also, if you want to know anything in depth, go to Generalist's channel. He's very like bro knows everything.
Shout out Generalist. And what was I saying? Oh yeah, and other things like turn off the Black Death, blah blah blah. Do you think a meta will emerge of how, let's say, 90% of the viewers and the player base will want to see, for example, I guess this comes back to videos at the end of the day too, but is there going to be like a definitive thing? Okay, so everyone's like, okay, Black Death on, ahistorical nations allowed. You know, and there's a couple of other settings.
I think it's personal. I think CK3 has this as well, where you can tweak a lot of the settings, and I don't see too much in terms of consecration or in terms of people talking about it. One thing that I always hate myself if I forget to do is to turn down the frequency of plagues, because I find them irritating. I want them to be around because I don't want to get rid of them completely, but I do turn down that thing. So I think you can tweak and mess around with it. I think there is like a spectrum here. If you're going to go E4 terms, from having it so you can have an idea group be admin and then admin, which is, I don't even know why that's a setting, it's a terrible idea, all the way to the other end of, okay, now we're going to go for dynamic nations, no such thing as normal nations, it's all going to be from there.
So these are formables here?
Yeah, these are formables. So there's different tiers of formable.
Yep. Well, some already exist, though.
Yeah, well, the idea is if you can get rid of them. Again, Tunis can, like, in EU4 can die and then get reformed. Same thing with France. So
okay, go to top right here. I want to see
top. There's Europa, which is ahistorical.
Yeah. So
Rome,
something
Hindustan,
that I'm sure you guys will agree with me on, in the current patch, which is still being worked on, chat, still a work in progress build, the AI, and I haven't played to like 1800 or something like that, but I've gone into the 1600. I don't really see any of them.
You don't see the AI form?
I see two Sicilies
every time. Like the two Sicilies is rampant.
They're just so easy to form. You can form them like first year as Naples. But OPB, which formables have you seen? Like Britain, Spain type shit.
I've seen Britain, I've seen Spain, but they also got lucky with Spain. They inherited a personal union with Portugal and then just kept going basically. So I will say that our current build was for a while in a state where the AI couldn't figure out how to declare wars. That has been fixed. I'm gonna come back on this topic playing this build now, you know, further and further. Yeah. They are more aggressive and they are better at the economy now than they were before that. So like, I'm really looking forward to seeing what they're doing now.
They're slightly better as well. Again, you know what? No, I'm gonna save it for the AI section. I'm gonna save it for the AI. We'll finish up on the flavor side of things. Again, I just wanna, for those of you who don't know, in terms of tech, the way institutions, because that's what we're talking about, this is the most like brief thing I could possibly do on it. There are 3 Is it 3, 4? There are institutions that are unlocked per age. They'll turn up somewhere.
3. It's 3 per age.
3. So, for example,
5
meritocracy
ages,
started
3
in Carmichael. I think it's over in the east. That is something that is Asia coded that you're not going to see in Europe until a little bit later on, until it comes over. Renaissance is going to start in Europe again. It's going to go outwards like that. Think mildly like EU4 if I really had to go. So those things will unlock different technologies that you can go for. There are also different technologies that are unlockable on the basis of your culture, and also up here, in fact, I think I showed it earlier, that you can get some unique advancements.
Group, culture, religion,
over here as well.
Sex and religion.
Culture, like your country specifically as well. So when it comes to technology, there is a big tree. It's not just Tech 23. There's a big tree, so you can specialize in certain things. You can decide, I want to go and do this now. And there's a lot of flavor within the tech tree that isn't immediately obvious, that is unique to different groups and everything else. Oh, look here. Some, I didn't even know this, to be honest. I probably should have. Some are directly tied to actions in international organizations like Elder Empire or Ilkana.
Let's say if there's 100 advancements in an age, I don't know.
You can also go back and do the ones that you've missed, by the way, in case you
about
you have to.
half will be generic that everyone can get. 20% will be from your religion or religion group, 20% will be from your culture or culture group, and about 10% will be like unique and stuff like that.
To be clear, when we say unique, it is like
country specific, just for
and they are kind of just modifiers, you know, like for the I won't even say for the most part.
Well,
but like here, for example,
really,
as an example.
these are really the national ideas. If we're going back to
okay, I'll give that,
ideas.
Yeah, I'll give that.
And the other ones, let's say, are kind of like tech and stuff like that. So
in fact, I'll boot up and show the stream real quick, right? I'll just really, Okay.
I wanna intersect with just one thing regarding flavor, just for the record. If there are event haters like myself, I will tell you right now that they know how to write flavor and how to implement it. Yes. And it's just, again, like clearly there's just different levels, and this is the way game, like this is the way it works. I personally don't appreciate the events. If you are in my boat, listen. The situations, the international organizations, what you can do there, there's a lot of stuff in there where I'm like, that's awesome. Like they clearly got something figured out, and I'm really looking forward to what they're doing with that. Not so much with the standalone events where it's like you wanna the equilibrium of the estates. I mean, what do we do there? It's like it's boring.
I wanna just highlight a couple of things people have said, mainly because they're content creators. Generalist said he thinks he's only seen Great Britain. Bro, you've seen Two Sicilies every game. You're just
Two Sicilies every game. It's
in your head. I've seen Britain a couple of times.
I also consider, by the way, if France unifies France and beats England and eats all of their vassals, I consider that France formed. Personally,
Bo said the last time I checked, the AI doesn't play the game. They have improved the AI. I will.
Now they do.
I will say that they will play the game.
Too many forts though.
There's so many forts. We're gonna talk about situations and then we'll talk about the AI real quick. Yeah. So we'll start with Hawk.
And by the way, these aren't all of the formables, chat. There's loads more.
Yeah, sure. I don't know if there is a exhaustive list or if that is it. I'm not sure.
Well, Barat wasn't on there, so.
Situations.
I love them.
I was about to say yeah or nay. Yeah, situations. I think. I'm not gonna lie. I think they cooked with situations.
It's the best. Oh, I fucking love it, dude.
Do you want to explain what a situation is?
Okay, so a situation is, well, not only that guy from Jersey Shore. Shout out to all my old heads, but it's literally, once again, I'm gonna go back, connected to a real life thing. It is a situation that is happening somewhere in the world that affects certain countries that are a part of it or near it. For example, I'm going to start off with probably the most important situation for all EU5 and Byzantium and Jewry is the rise of the Turks. Okay, so you start up a game as anyone in the Balkans, in Anatolia, maybe even Hungary in them, or the Georgian guys. Anyone that's around Anatolia, around the Beyliks, gets notified of that. And what this situation does is, I'm going to break this one down specifically, and then we'll go into every
I'll show it
other
off as well.
or whatnot. It basically is a way to make primarily the Ottomans, or perhaps a different Beylik, if they manage to defeat the Ottomans, to buff them. So it gives them various ways to quickly conquer nations via war, various ways to quickly vassalize nations. You get additional cabinet slots, which is super important, speed of integration. So this is a situation that affects primarily the Ottomans. Everyone around them is notified. The game is telling you, look, these guys, If the AI was good, it could beat your ass in the next 5 years. Luckily, it's still not.
Again, we'll talk about AI in a sec. We'll talk about... Hold it.
Yeah.
Hold it.
So,
So that's a great example of a situation there. And it's important to note that, for example, like the Black Death is something that affects damn near everyone. So that's going to be a huge situation. So situations can be localized. They can be damn near global. Let me quickly show off some, some other ones that are a little bit more localized.
Chat is the Gilfs and the Ghibellines.
All right, let me get that one up
then.
then.
Situation that happens in Italy. So, as you all know, I'll connect it back to EU4 once again. In 1460, you got the fate of Italy, blah, blah, blah. Emperor decides, I don't care about these guys being in the HRE, they leave. And that's really the only thing that happens to it in EU4, unless you're playing an HRE thing and you fight them or ally them to keep them in. So, the Guelphs right here, or the Guelphs, are a part of Italian nations that are close with the Pope. And they're like, yo, we ain't German, bruh. What the frick? We don't want nothing to do with you, you know? And then you got the Ghibellines, which is the other guys, which are siding with the Emperor,
Imperial
which is
loyalists.
Bavaria, Upper Bavaria, right? In EU5?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they side with him, and we're like, well, we're not Germans, but I kind of like that guy, you know? And I'll break this down for you. Yeah.
I'm showing off as well, by the way, so just so you know.
Laith is showing it off as we speak on screen right now. So the leader of the leaving the HRE guys is kind of the Pope, but not really. They're only on his side. The leader
is an international organization. We just need
It's an international organization, right, within the situation, right? So you got the two international organizations within the situation. And then the leader of the Ghibellines, the guys that want to stay in the HRE, is like the Emperor, and basically the more members you have in one side, the more powerful it is, and basically you want to have your guys be bigger. Now, when playing in Italy, you generally always want the Guelphs to win, because you want to leave the HRE if you're playing in Italy, so you can upgrade to a duchy, to a kingdom, to whatever, unless you're doing an HRE game, of course. So you always want to make the leaving the HRE guys stronger. Now, once their progress scales based on how rich these countries that are in the organization are. So once one side reaches 100%, they win, right? And obviously there's various things you can do within it, but like this, what Laith is showing off right now, to simplify it, once one of these guys win, it's valid for everyone. So if the Guelphs win, everyone leaves the HRE. If the Ghibellines win, everyone stays in the HRE except for the Pope, Sicily, and Naples. So guys that historically left the HRE at
and I'm just showing off here as well.
And then
here's one of the Casus Belli we're talking about. So a situation here has created a Casus Belli to do that. There's a lot here. So think of the way he's talking about it right now. He's talking about a system that creates international organizations, creating different outcomes. Here you go, 3 different outcomes for the situation. Pitting Italian states against Italian states, creating this situation or context for these nations. Situations that are absolutely fantastic. There are a lot of them. I think if I was reading very, very briefly, I didn't know this before, the Delhi has its own situation as well that can possibly trigger the 100 Years' War. So he was talking about there's a lot of flavor.
The Reformation is a situation in and of itself. 100 Years' War, the Italian Wars is a completely different situation. That screenshot up at the top that Laith just showed right there with the French and the Castilians and the Italians and the HRE guys. You got the Ottomans. You got the rise of Timur is probably a very, well, not probably.
I haven't seen Timur, I'm not going to lie. He always used to, he kind of just like messy.
I see him every game. He just don't do nothing.
That's what I'm saying. Like he doesn't do too much. He kind of pulls up, goes, yo, it's me. I am the... And then just kind of like goes, anyway,
I have come, and then he dies.
OPB, tell me.
What's your favorite situation?
Yay or nay? Yay, well, let's ask him. He might hate him.
No, I like situations. I will tell you right now that some of them are very hit or miss. There are some that
give me some misses.
Like buggy. Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna give you the strongest miss in a second, at least in my opinion. So I think the Colonial Revolution stuff, the interface, like, you need to do something there. The gameplay is like, but it's also very late, of course.
You're talking about the colonies becoming rowdy.
Yes, the Colonial Revolution one.
Yes. So, because I will tell you for that one in particular, you will see the same event about 100 million times. Because, you know, that's the way that the cookie crumbles there. The situation that I personally thought was the worst that I played, and I think I played most of them. I didn't play Japan yet, and I didn't play the Sultanate of Delhi, but I watched Delhi, and Delhi is not doing so hard. The Red Turban Rebellion feels miserable. So this is what happens in
smallest
China.
conflict in China be like.
Yeah, it's just basically you start as the Yuan, right? And then you go from there, you try to like keep it together, you have a lot going on, like there's a lot of systems there. It's really cool. They have an international organization as well with the Middle Kingdom. There's a lot going on there. The Red Turban Rebellion
War for all my Chinese viewers.
you basically you want it to happen. It has to happen, right? And so there's some events that are like, I don't know, if you take this option, chances are that it's going to trigger. I looked at the files, it's 100% going to trigger, because it's like they need this to trigger, otherwise there's no fun. And I get this, but that is why the initial experience feels absolutely horrendous. Like, what I would prefer is if, for example, the start there, but this is not an issue with situations per se, but what they did was they were like, hey, well, you have to go into the disaster, it is what it is. If I could, with the decisions that I make before it starts, set myself up once we start splintering, that would be cool. I would really like this. There are some situations like this where the design of the situation in particular, not situations in general, where I'm just like, oh, this is not great. After you splinter, it's fun. It's a Royal Rumble, it's a Thunderdome. You pop in there, you get ready, you fight. There's a lot of stuff going on. The Red Turban Rebellion feels miserable at the start. Like
just a minor uprising. I told you, smallest Chinese.
Yeah, it is just a minor uprising. But so basically that one I'm like I'm looking forward to that getting reworked in one way or another eventually. But the vast majority of situations, like the Italian leagues and all this stuff, the AI engaging with this, obviously, and they are doing it, but I think there's some difficulties. Like, obviously, it's AI, it's very complex. For the player, I think super fun. The Reformation is cool. Mm-hmm. The League Wars, they function properly now, and it's like that's also like it's a really exciting thing. Country and court is the absolutism one. Yeah, no, they're nice. I like the Revolution. Again, it was really chaotic because of the balancing. I had the situation with England where like everybody worldwide was like, it's revolution time, brother. I'm rising up. You can't resist. We're all revolutionary republics. What are you gonna do? I get news from China. It's like the revolutionary leader of this movement.
Didn't you like also have a generally egalitarian society as well?
Yeah, of course.
You had a decent society where like you had all of the societal values that were like, hey, we're rich Republican. We are like we're centralized. We're like democracy's great. Humanism, like you were just so, and then they were like, but one step further though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Revolution.
Who is Koke Timur? I see him every game. Who's that?
That is a guy that takes over, right?
That's like the number one great power in every game I see.
Yeah. That's the leftover basically.
Yeah, King no Koke Timur.
Yeah.
I'll offer my own like 2 cents on the matter. I think situations are fantastic. Not all situations are created equal. The mechanic itself is fantastic.
Yeah, amazing.
Big time.
I think it's a huge win for them. I think they've done so well with that. Not all of them are. I mean, like not all of them are going to be as good as others. They have done a good job, I think. Red Turban aside, of focusing in on the Rise of Turks and the 100 Years' War at the start. Being like, all right, these are going to be things that people see. Rise of Turks, I still think can like with regards to the AI, but we'll get onto that. Might have some problems, but it does make it feel like, and again, this is what I'm saying when it comes to flavor being based on mechanics, not based on.
That main guy is good, bro.
He's insane.
I haven't seen
mechanics are based on flavor is based on mechanics, technology, situations versus it being national ideas. And I think again, EU4 coded me was like, there's no flavor here. But I think that when you come to individual regions, again, situations are huge for that. Huge for that. So I
flavor in different ways. For country specific, it's very spread out, like I said, Chad. But once you get into it, there's just so many other things that bring flavor that don't even exist in any way in EU4. Like, yes, a country, it's harder to see what it's supposed to do. Just going back to that once again, like for example, Georgia is defensive, Prussia is small but powerful army, Russia is huge army, right? It's harder to see that at first glance in EU5, but there's so many other things For example, the main thing being situations, man. I personally, all of the ones that I've interacted with the most, I enjoyed quite a lot. Like we mentioned already, the both of the Italian situations, the 100 Years' War, the Reformation, Rise of the Turks, Timur you see pretty often. So even if I haven't gotten involved with it, you keep an eye out on it because you can see Central Asia, which is called Khorasan in EU5. Please fix it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to just quickly? I mean, hopefully there'll be devs listening to this. So do you want to quickly shout out the Malta situation and the Balkan situation when it comes to the areas?
So this is just a nitpicky thing, and it's just visual. And I've talked about this with well, not really with a dev, but someone on the team. Actually, I've spoken with 2 people on the team directly, and I hope this is
a petition. It's the only reason we're doing this stream.
You know how OCD I am about borders, chat. So the entire region that's called Central Asia in EU4 is called Khorasan in EU5. Khorasan's not even there. Like, Google Khorasan. literally, Google Abayer, bro. I don't know what else to say. Also, the Maghreb is also in Egypt and Sudan. And also, Malta is surrounded by sea tiles, which belong to the Balkans. Gibraltar is surrounded by sea tiles that belong to Italy. The Black Sea is entirely within Anatolia.
Chat, to be clear, this doesn't matter at all. He just
doesn't matter at all. And then you got the Netherlands being in Britain. Like,
bro's just mad.
I'm just mad. Please change that.
Speaking of
also,
being mad,
no Baltic region. Come on, it's 2025.
No Baltics.
No Baltics.
I will say, let's get to the meat of the matter. The AI. I'm going to start off by saying it is always going to be difficult when you have systems laid upon systems to have an AI that properly engages with all of these things. We have seen the AI have definitive improvement, in my opinion, with the versions that we've had, successive versions. So they are tweaking it to get better. But there are just sort of some out, like, I mean, you know what, oh, beep, go for it. I'll unleash him.
So the thing about the AI really is that, like, there are so many layers to it because you have so many different systems. Now, I do want to make a distinction that I think if anybody has played Victoria 3 will know this. It's like, so Victoria 3 also, every complex systemic game, and not to knock EU4, but it's not that systemic because you have like a couple of levels and they just work and everything works through them and then you're good to go and you can, it's easier, I think. At least I would argue this way. Maybe not objectively, but basically all I'm saying is in Victoria 3, when the AI really screws up, that means that like entire markets collapse, everybody is just in a dead spiral and it's over. I have not seen this behavior. So Victoria 3 also got better about it, but in EU5, I have not seen this behavior. Nonetheless, objectively, so I do observer games. I do a lot of observer games just regularly because you learn to like understand and appreciate how things work. And the AI is pretty good at colonization now, but it's still like, do they understand where they want to have which good? It's so complex. Not really. They will have some, amounts of slaves, for example. They will have some amounts of pepper and cloves shipped around, but in general, will they play like a player that knows what they are doing? Of course, absolutely not. The thing that really, for me, is kind of like... okay, so I can live with a suboptimal AI, and I think it's fine. I think it's fun, because then you can kind of play around this. I think this will be more upsetting to optimizers, to people that are used to these 3 levels that you can teach the AI, and then it just works. What makes me kind of go like, ooh, is this entire stuff that we talked about armies being able to hide, and the stuff where they just go like, okay, they understand there's like forts here and there. The rules of combat are so much more complex than they were in EU4. Unless they have massive numerical advantage, am not convinced that the AI will ever be in a position where I go, this was like genuinely... Maybe if I overlook details, if I don't think about a war that much, they can definitely like, beat me up, no doubt about it. If I don't understand how combat works, whatever. But I think the rules are so complex, I think that is going to be like a struggle factor for the AI going forward, and you will really feel it. I was playing the Ottomans, and all I can say is, and again, this stuff is always work in progress, but man, it was so frustrating when I told my ships, yo, don't let any ships through, I got the bigger navy, don't do it, right? And then I saw that the Egyptians had landed in Greece and
Yeah.
were sieging down random provinces. I was like, and now I get to clean that up, which is really cool. They didn't realize that I was sieging their core territory. And as I was pushing into this and there were more and more mountains, they were like, there could be 1 trillion troops of OPB in this province right now. We're going to find out by marching in and dying. And it's like, okay, well.
Yeah, there are some interesting choices. The AI will not really defend its transports that well either. I can't tell you, again, playing as Tunis, the amount of times Castile would fight me and they'd go, all right, 15,000 levies, send them across, and then I'd just like turn up with my
It's also
boats and just take
they
them out.
also don't back off like in EU4. They sometimes
no,
back off. If
so-
they want to land and you line up, sometimes they'll back off.
Yeah,
They don't back
no, they
off
commit.
just
They fully commit to pretty much everything. They go hard. The AI in terms of taking territories, I feel like this has been worked
Don't
on.
get me started.
This has been worked on.
Sure, yeah.
It's
I ain't seen it if it has been.
well, we've only had this version not that long.
not
I will
that
say
long.
this:
Yeah,
in a previous version, the
Yeah.
AI would randomly take territory. Like it was kind of
not pressed
like
even.
mechanically, it doesn't matter. Mechanically, it doesn't matter to the player. However, when you're looking, and this was what I was like, one of my biggest problems was that visually, if you are a map gamer
Takes you out.
and you
Yeah, it takes
see
you out.
Castile take land in Sami, and you see England taking land in Algeria.
And Bulgaria and Sicily.
And Bulgaria and Sicily, and it's not all connected. And you have, like, to be fair, the Pope weirdly, for the most part, would also just always go for Jerusalem, which is kind of cool. I kind of like that. But aside from that, like, it was a bit about that is better. That is a lot better. But
I think those are the easier parts as well,
Yes.
because it's more about understanding like what do you kind of want to take in general, whereas like understanding systems is super hard. And to be fair, even with the systems, the AI is much better economically now. Like you will see AI professional armies that are massive. They are building them up. It's all there.
They're
Like
good at armies.
Yeah.
They're
the
actually
AI,
way
the
better
AI
in
is so
armies
much
than
better than it
previous
used to
patch,
be.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
this
very-
was the only, like, I won't say only, but this was a big point of concern for me. Genuine concern about the game release was the state of the AI when we were playing it for a while. I'm a lot more optimistic given the most recent one. I still need to dive in and play more, man, to formulate a proper opinion, but that's kind of where I'm at. Colonization as well, when it came to, you pre-ordered it, you didn't use one of our links? That's crazy. Get out of here. Ban that, man. Yeah, so, I mean, that is what's, also, I want to address that as well. Some people are saying that, the YouTubers are not going to be impartial because of us getting like a cut if you use our links and
I
stuff.
feel like we've been more negative this stream than positive, but it's obviously
No, I
easier
wouldn't say
to
that.
talk
I
about
would say we've been more positive
Yeah.
than negative, but I feel like we haven't been like sugarcoating it. Like,
I really have I listen. If you're a forumite, okay, we are gonna have a fight at some point, you and me. Just we're gonna do that, okay? Be ready. But no, what I mean to say there is, I think it's really difficult to communicate exactly what is great and what is bad about EU5 without being taken in a way that sounds to the extreme in either direction, because everybody understands everything differently, and EU5 is such a complex game. Like, I can literally complain about this game for days. I'm talking just straight up 48, who knows, like an entire week of just complaining. I can do that, but then I will also be like, also, I'm having a really great time and I'm gonna go play now. You know, like
yeah, that's the thing. There's so much here. There is so much to complain about and so much to laud. You could sit here, and this is what I love about like sometimes the forum, and also like people when they're hearing us talking about it, they're like, will be, oh my god, it's a terrible game. Look, here's Laith talking 45 minutes about all the problems. I can talk about 45 minutes. I can also talk for 45 minutes about
all the good things.
all the good things, or not even all the good things, like a tiny slice of all the good things, a tiny slice of
just
there's
so
so
complex.
it's a complicated game. So when they come for scale, if like you cannot fault them for scale. Like the game feels big,
Oh, yeah.
right? I will say that.
Well, That's a big problem for me. I get very easily overwhelmed,
Yes.
chat. So
Yes.
that I actually don't have the balls to try Yuan or
Don't genuinely don't.
Delhi.
It's horrible. Like Yuan is
I
horrible.
even had a tough time doing France, man. I love it's this new OLMs, we call them now. By the way, just came up with it.
one location minus.
One location miners, best country to play.
wow.
OLMs.
Oh my god,
It
I
is
love
fun to sort of like. I think
I
there's a
love it.
different version of micro. Boys, let's start wrapping up. I'll give it to Hawk first for closing thoughts on EU5.
Closing thoughts. I'll just touch on the AI for one sentence, man. I don't even want them to be geniuses. I'm not looking for Chat GPT in EU5 or AGI or whatever. I want it to be good enough to keep up with the player, like it is in EU4. I don't need geniuses, and I want them to conquer stuff that they're supposed to conquer. I want to see the Ottomans own everything from Hungary down to Yemen over to Morocco.
We're seeing the downside of not having railroading, I would say, because the AI doesn't, it's a lot harder to wait. And now, I'm saying that as someone who doesn't know how to code AI, doesn't understand how that works, I'm assuming on the basis of EU4. But sorry.
I want to see Spain, I want to see Russia, the Commonwealth, Prussia in the Commonwealth sometimes, let's say, Great Britain, I want to see it, you know, Netherlands. I've seen Netherlands. I'm gonna say it. I've seen Netherlands. In fact, very often. I forgot about that.
This man has seen
That's
things.
the only thing I want about the AI. I want it to be good enough to where the player will at least have some sort of challenge, because I like to leave late game bosses, right? I intentionally don't fight huge nations, let them grow bigger, so I have a challenge at the end. And I want them to take what they're supposed to. At the end, closing thoughts about EU5, man. I have some personal problems with it that are just hawk problems that I don't like. I already mentioned, you know, still not sold on the start date or whatever, and the tilting map and stuff like that. But aside from that, the systems that they've implemented in the game are insane. I think at launch, it'll be probably the best PDX game mechanical-wise. You know, I really don't feel like there's anything missing. Sure, we can mope on about, like, okay, Parliament should be called a diet. Not everyone had a Parliament. Or AI is kind of stupid now, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like it's in a really good spot. My only concern is I don't want players to be turned off by, you know, the things you need to do in the super early game. Let's say at 10, 20 years or something like that, which, you know, you could get right into it, but the game sort of incentivizes you not to. But yeah, we're going to be putting out videos soon, chat. In fact, we know when we're going to be putting out videos. You don't. So we're going to have to leave it at that. But yeah, EU5, at the end of the day, I like it. More than EU4? No. But will I like it eventually more than EU4? Yeah, of course.
One follow-up question. And I already know the answer to this. Going from playing EU5 to playing EU4, how does that feel to you?
It feels like home.
Yeah. Okay. All right, OPB.
EU4 feels right.
OPB, your final thoughts?
So I said, basically one of my first statements I think that I made on this game is that if you didn't enjoy EU4, if you like history, and if you missed this historical period, this game is very likely to be the one that gets you back into it. For me, this is exactly what this is. I've played Grand Strategy games for literally 19 years now, okay? And I will complain until the day I die about everything and all the stuff that is in there, just because it's like, that's what you do if you have something that you like this much for this long a time. But the reality of it is, I'm having a really good time with what is there. All the stuff that I do complain about, I think, again, like I said at the start of this, I think I'm objectively correct about this stuff, but I'm still playing. I still like a lot of what I'm seeing and where it's headed. For me personally, this game, I think my player type will really go into that direction and say this is for me. And I gotta say, for the other player types, with the game director and studio director like Johan, where it's kind of like he clearly is also one of the people that loves stacking numbers. Like, he loves the way it works and, you know, the way you kind of go into those systems. I'm not worried for those player types either. Obviously, it's very difficult to get a game like this
on
one.
that player type. Yeah, this is the game for those types of players. Big agree.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's one of those things where I come to a conclusion. There will be a lot that I will be complaining about, and a lot that I am complaining about, and a lot that I'm gonna write essays about, and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm really happy that EU5 is going to the direction. I wasn't, you know, you never know. They were really, really good at being a board game, and then they were like, you know what, let's try to go deep into that direction. I'm very thankful for that, for sure. We're gonna see how it turns out. I mean, at the end of the day, game launch is, you know, really difficult. I'm looking forward to what they're doing with Situation, with international organizations, and I'm looking forward to what they're doing with the UI. As much as I am willing and able and currently complaining about the UI, like I said, and I really mean it, they have some great ideas and some great implementations already. So from where I'm standing, I'm looking forward to EU5, and you know, I'm gonna go to bed today, and then tomorrow I'm gonna wake up and I'll be like, I should play some EU5. So there you go.
Same. but I'm probably not gonna have time. Laith,
So-
your closing thoughts?
Yeah, well, I brought along today, chaps, or we brought along ourselves as a group together, someone in Hawk who loves EU4, is an EU4 purist, and genuinely doesn't play any other games apart from EU4, very rarely. We have, on the flip side, OPB, someone who does not like EU4 as a system, doesn't enjoy it. And yet, both of them can find enjoyment in EU5. That's the kind of game it is. It does have, like, systemically speaking, it is bigger than all the other Paradox games. It felt like it has kind of like gone through the shopping store of grand strategy and gone, I'll take that into the basket, I'll take that into the basket, I'll take that into the basket. And we've gone out of it something that is worth complaining about. And I think that's kind of the key part here. When there is vitriol about this kind of stuff, it is not apathy. And for a game like this that is so important, if people are willing to devote hours of their time complaining about certain things, obviously not in a reductive, hateful way, but in a genuine criticism, in a genuine form of criticism, it does mean we have something here that is worth engaging with. And I think it's something that is going to be engaged with for as long as EU4. When it comes to my personal thoughts of how it's going to go, I am very optimistic. I think that the people that have already made their mind up about EU4, EU5 have already made their mind up. Like, whether or not, like, some people hate it from now, never having played it.
There's always doomers, and that's
But that's what I'm saying. I think the
doomers,
doomers, we ignore the doomers.
No pre-orders.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna suck.
The interesting thing to me was having, like, my videos on like 500,000 odd views, like that of those first impressions all those months ago, and that was then when it started to go into more of a mainstream sort of way. And you get a lot of people that are like, oh, I hate this, I hate that, and they don't even want to engage with the subject. One of my favorite things to see was that a lot of people didn't actually have that much to complain about in terms of EU5 when it came to what they were receiving. They didn't really know what they were complaining about, and so they go, I just feels like wrong. Oh, I feel like they're going to mess it up. I can confidently say, for me as a player, don't care about content creator, as a player, I really enjoy playing with it. When I get frustrated, I get super frustrated with it, but it makes me feel things. And that's kind of what I want from a game. I would like to know why things are happening, so I'm satisfied with why I'm failing. That's the main concern I have with EU5, is that when something goes wrong, I don't know if it's because, like, I don't know what I have done to cause that.
Yeah, there's so many things to go into to find out.
Did someone else hurt me, like, in terms of trade, or is it my own failings that have done it? I have no real playback.
The Tuscans have food, for example?
There you go. It's hard to find out why things have gone wrong. That is my biggest gripe. The biggest thing I like about it, and the biggest thing I like is the situations, the systemic. I think you can really dive deep and put on the hat of, it's been a long day of work. For the next sort of 2 hours, I am going to be the Doge of Venice. I'm going to do my trades. I'm going to develop my people. In EU4, people aren't represented, and so I don't care about them because there's no numbers, development, whatever. In EU5, I feel bad about quarantining because there is a number, there is this sort of stuff. You can damn near get a focus group. If you click on someone, they belong to these different things. I feel bad. OPB doesn't feel bad because he's soulless. He doesn't care about people. I do. But, chaps, I think that is, I mean, I had a lot of fun. I'm happy to do this kind of stuff again. Hopefully, you at home...
It was nice.
Hopefully answer some sort of questions from it. If it didn't, then damn, that's crazy. I would recommend checking out the dev diaries now that they're coming out. They're going to be feel a bit more. If you go back and read the Tinto talks, be careful because some stuff might have been updated. The UI might not have been the same. It is quite good. So
it doesn't look like that at all. In fact, I mean, you guys know what the game looks like. Yeah. Paradox has been doing videos, haven't they? Yeah, they have. And a lot of people did like shorts and screenshots. I forgot to do mine. I was going to post a screenshot of the ocean, but I just forgot.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to do it next time.
All right.
If I don't forget again. But yeah, keep an eye out, boys. First EU5 videos coming out December 15th. December 15th. The game has been delayed. They were like, Hawk, you gotta tell them.
People actually do.
It's delayed because of releasables, chat.
I disavow.
Hawk, you gotta finish releasables.
I disavow.
Yeah, that's another thing we need to say.
PDX pants,
the information in this video may not be correct, right? Bear that in mind. We are giving opinions. We could be wrong on facts. Yeah. We could be wrong on... Well, OPB can never be wrong about his opinions, as we know, objectively correct. Yeah. But bear that in mind. We're just trying to give a sense of things. And I think that for me at least, is where I'm going to leave it. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching, for engaging. Thank you to my 2 co-hosts here today, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.